Hey, what's up, BMX nerds? Welcome back to another episode of Kanode Knows, brought to you by Dig BMX. This week on the show, we got legendary filmmaker Stu Johnson. And you have to say legendary before his name, because, man, honestly, I didn't really realize how much he's done prior to this interview and looking into it and doing the little bit of research that I did. He's been going since 95. I was 5 years old, and he was putting out BMX videos, and he's still going, holding it down, doing the X Games stuff, and I'm happy I got to talk to him about that. Honestly, there's so much stuff that he's done that I felt like I could have asked 1,000 more questions, and we could have another podcast, and it would be just as good, but I really enjoyed the conversation with him, and I hope you guys do too. It's a good one. Thank you, Stu, for coming on. Before we get into it, go to rawlife.com, use promo code Kanode, and get yourself some green superfoods, and drink them, and be healthy, and wise, and amazing. If you're watching on Dig's YouTube channel, make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment, share the show with your friends. And I think that's it. Let's get into it. Here's Stu Johnson. Hi, Stu.
What's up, Bobby?
Thanks for encouraging me to bring the podcast back almost a year ago at this point.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm glad you did it.
You sent a random text and said, "Where's the podcast at?" And I was like, "That's a good point." And then I think I did Daryl.
Daryl was the first one back.
So crazy.
Yeah, I'd been doing a bunch of running, and I was listening to I've been listening to all everyone's podcasts really since I'm trying to get in some miles.
That's amazing.
I was listening to yours and ran out a few in, and I was like, hey, bring it back.
Well, thank you, dude. It's got momentum since then. So you're the little. You seen that meme of the dominoes? You're the small domino, and then it's just big dominoes. You look great. You look healthy. Tell me about this running that you're doing.
Actually, I've been kind of slacking on it the past 2 or 3 months, but yeah, I kind of got into running a little bit a couple of years ago. I just, when you have big projects and you're at home a lot and you're sitting behind the computer and, it's kind of nice to get out and get some kind of exercise. Like, riding's great, but more than not, it kind of beats you up.
Yeah, for real.
It's like, it helps you, so I had kind of started, going. I tried to start running, and then I would get a lot of knee pain and stuff like that. So I was like, I just need to start walking a bunch. So I'd start doing that and walking like a few miles every day, and just kind of eventually started doing a little, intervals, like a little walking, a little running, and eventually the knee pain kind of subsided, and I started doing more running than walking, and I got into it, ran a half marathon. I'd like to do a full marathon sometime.
Sick. Hell yeah. Good for you.
Year or so.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I have the same thing with running. Like my knees, I'm like, no, I'll just walk. I think walking's super underrated because it's like, doesn't spike your cortisol, but it is exercise, which is super dope.
Yeah. I used to despise like walking, it's like when you live your life on like a bicycle, you're used to getting where you want to go in like no time, and it's obviously fun doing it. So I used to always think of like walking, like, any kind of distance walking was just being like really boring, but
and inefficient.
Inefficient. So it's nice to do it. It's relaxing actually, which is,
super peaceful.
I never really looked at it that way, but yeah, I enjoy it.
Except for right now, it's 110 degrees in Arizona, so we're not walking. Maybe in the mornings.
Pretty close to the same here in Austin. Yeah.
It's miserable in Texas, no?
Yeah, summer is not fun. It's hot.
I'm glad we're not alone. We both are sharing shitty summertime blues, dude. It's like just staying stuck inside. It's almost like it's a winter where there's snow, but I prefer it here. Anyway, Arizona season is coming.
Yeah, I used to not really have to deal with the summer here much because I would just basically spend it on the road. Like when I moved to Austin in '98, I started doing a lot of BMX stuff and just would spend my summers like on the East Coast or just kind of traveling. And then when the prop stuff came along, I was gone a lot. Like I would be gone for 4 months on end, 5 months on end sometimes,
What was that like? How old were you when you got the props invite, and were you already like filming, and like how did tell me your life story, Stu? How did it start? How did you get in? Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned props. Like start there. How did the props thing come up?
Started props. Well, I grew up in Indiana. And at one point in the mid 90s, early 90s, Steve Crandall and the FBM crew moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I was from. And in the winters, we would go drive 3 hours to Chicago skate park Scrap, and we would ride there. We'd go maybe twice a month, every other weekend in the winter. And Chris Rye and Marco Massey from Props were Chicago locals. So they would always, we'd always see them at the park, and we'd talk to them, and, kind of became friends with them a little bit. And then, a few years later, I move up to Austin, and they had, I remember exactly what it was. They were on a Road Fools trip somewhere on the East Coast, Ithaca, New York. I can't remember which Road Fools that was. Maybe like Road Fools 5 or something, 4 or 5. I'm not really sure, but anyways, they were on this trip, and I was visiting Crandall in Ithaca, New York, and that's where they were at. And they were talking about, yeah, we're on this trip. It's cool. But the only thing that sucks is we're missing this DK dirt circuit contest in Pittsburgh that we would film for the Props issue. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And they knew that I filmed, and they were just like, hey, would you be interested in going and filming that? Like, if we bought you a bus ticket, and, we'll pay you whatever it was. And I was just like, you're going to pay me to shoot BMX stuff? Like, yeah, of course I'll do it,
Yes,
So
sir.
like, and then it was a dirt contest, and I grew up riding dirt, and I knew a lot of the guys that were in it and stuff. So I was all about it. I said, yeah, man, I'll do that for sure. And it just kind of like did that. And that issue, that was like the only thing I had in that issue. And then I think the next issue was like, hey, we have like these 2 other things if you'd like to film them. And I did that. And then like the next issue, it was like, hey, there's like 3 or 4 things, and we need help with this Joe Rich interview. And, I think for them, it was hard to find somebody who was like dependable, and, could get the job done, and didn't just go to these comps and like party like crazy and be hungover the whole next day during the comp, So yeah, it didn't take long with me being willing to like travel and actually like, start paying some bills, like by doing BMX stuff. I was all about it.
So you've always been this way, not partying, just dependable Stu. Even when
I
you were
mean,
younger, you didn't
I
party?
wouldn't say there wasn't like a little bit of a party phase or whatever, But I think at that time, I don't know if I was really drinking or not, but I've gone through like phases where I do a little drinking, and then not
Keep
drink
it
for a while
together.
or
Yeah.
whatever. And it wasn't because like anything bad would happen. It was just, I don't know, just kind of what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's never really been like a
Party
huge
Stu.
phase. There's been a few party nights once in a while, like
Yeah.
back in the
I
day,
would love to meet Party Stu.
I would be lying if I said that I didn't like during one of the East Coast terminal contests, like filming pro on Sunday, go out and throw up in the parking lot and then come back in.
Hell yeah.
But I just, like nowadays it's like it's so few and far between that I even have like a single drink. It just
Good for
doesn't
you.
really do much for me, like it doesn't really enrich my life in any capacity. So I just don't do
100%.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
I'm
not
with you on
against it.
that.
Like I could, if I see an old friend and they're like, let me buy you a beer or a drink or whatever, I'll have a drink. But yeah,
Ceremoniously,
yeah,
one
it's pretty rare.
beer
It's pretty
socially.
rare.
It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
pretty
I
rare.
just had I've been not drinking, but I went out for celebration after my boss's mastermind, and I had one beer, and I was like, this is weird to just have one beer and sit and talk and then drink water and then go home. Like I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm an adult now. This is cool. Did you
I,
have a
I don't miss
job?
hangovers at all. Like,
Yeah, right. Me neither, dude.
yeah, if I were to have a hangover, I don't want to do anything. So it's
Yeah,
like
me neither.
it's
It's
just you just write off a whole day, if you're hungover.
2 days sometimes.
2 days.
Just don't feel right. Even after like the one beer, I was the next day, I was like, nah, I don't like that. It's because it's literal poison. Anyway, I could talk
Yeah.
about that for an hour. So when you got this props thing, did you have a job outside of BMX? Like, did you drop a job to go pursue this? And then,
I wasn't really like I had a few jobs, growing up. Like I think I had a couple of really crappy jobs in high school. I think my first job ever was like I worked at a Taco Bell for a summer when I was like 15, to like
yeah,
save up to buy a new frame or whatever. But after getting out of high school, I worked at a couple of t-shirt printing, factories. Like they would do tour shirts for, concert tour shirts for whoever, the Ramones or Snoop Dogg or, stuff like that. And I had worked a few of those jobs, and I actually did like a small little like t-shirt BMX t-shirt clothing company. I think clothing company. It's just some t-shirts really.
yeah. What was
In
it
the mid
called?
90s, it was called Scum Clothing. And
Sick.
yeah, yeah. And I made a couple of videos, with that moniker, Scum videos. And actually the guy that did Poor Boy clothing, Steve Inge, you're familiar with Poor Boy?
No,
It
I'm
was
not.
it was like a
Educate
big
me.
thing in the mid 90s. It was
Okay. It
like
does sound familiar.
yeah, you would go to races and freestyle contests, and he sold a lot of t-shirts and stuff. But anyways, he lived down in Texas and in Fort Worth, I believe, and he did like a little distro called like Sandbox Distro, and he did like he helped get the first King bikes made with Stuart King, and he distributed like FBM stuff at one point when they were only just doing t-shirts and videos. And so there was like a few years there where I was actually making a little bit of money doing BMX stuff, just kind of like my own stuff, my own t-shirts and videos and whatever.
How
And
old are
it
you at
was
this
a lot
point?
of money, but at the time, I was living in a BMX house with like Crandall and a bunch of other riders in Indiana, and it's like our rent was like $75 a month, and that included utilities.
That's amazing.
It's just you have so many people like piled in, and
Yeah.
Chris Hallman and Colin Winkleman lived there at one point, and like,
Damn.
and it was just like a really cool hub in like the Midwest where like a lot of people would come through, and yeah, we'd ride with them or whatever. But anyway, so I was like going to a lot of BMX races and like selling t-shirts and videos and some freestyle contest stuff too. And yeah, so but I mean I still had a few other random jobs, like worked with a roommate who's owned a business, and it was like you'd go into like department stores and like strip and wax the floors at night and stuff like that. And I'm sure I sold when I got to Austin. When I got to Austin, I was just doing like the t-shirt thing, but I had a t-shirt, my own press, but I sold it when I moved down to Austin because I couldn't like travel with this thing. It was too
Yeah.
big. So this distro, Sandbox Distro, they were just getting stuff made. But when I got to Austin, I didn't really have a lot of money, and I was just kind of like, oh man, I'm like riding bikes every day, and like I don't want to go get a job. And I'm sure I sold plasma a few times, to like
No shit.
get money to pay rent or whatever. So when the props thing came along, I was like, oh wow, you're gonna pay me to go to these events, hang out with all my friends, shoot the video, and it was always cool too. Like you'd try and do the best you could filming, and you'd see, at that time I would just hand the footage off to Chris Rye and he would edit it.
Yep.
It's like, whoa, I filmed that contest and now it's like a cool section in props.
Yes.
So it was like, yeah, it was a pretty fun thing to get involved with, and just opened up like a world of and opportunity for me.
The
Like I
BMX, the
never,
road life.
yeah, it was like it was cool because I got to almost like live the kind of life that a pro rider would live, but without having to like kill
Send it.
myself riding. Exactly. So it was really cool. And just, eventually stuff just snowballed from there.
Tell me
Yeah.
about the snowballing, man. Keep going.
The snowballing. I mean,
Linearly.
yeah. So, the prop stuff, I started doing that, I think in like 2000. And, instantly, like within like the first 4 or 5 months, I was just like, I had gone from like doing, just the first time doing one thing for them to like basically doing the whole props issues. At that
Sick.
time, they were doing like a ton of road fools videos, and those were huge undertakings, and Chris Rye was doing those. And I think that 5 or so years before I got involved, Chris was doing just like, they were doing the video magazine, maybe even like bi-monthly, like every other month or
That's so much work.
so you're doing 6 regular props issues in a year. You're doing 2 road fools in a year. You're doing a best of at the year end video, like, so I mean, he was just so spent, he was just taxed, and he was like, he was really, really stoked to have someone help out and help carry the load, like, so yeah,
Yep.
that's that stuff. It was like full bore, full-time job instantly almost, because he needed the help so bad. And I was willing to do it,
Yeah.
it was fun. So a lot of that stuff. And then probably around, I think it was 2005, I got asked to be one of the main filmers for the Etnies Grounded video.
Damn.
So yeah, I was really stoked on that. That was like, I mean, I think it kind of made sense because half the team lived in Austin and I lived in Austin. So it's just like, it was kind of meant to be.
Yeah.
But that was really a really cool project. That was like kind of like one of the first big projects I had done outside of props. And I was just like, oh wow, like that's like a heavy, especially following up, the Etnies Forward video that Dave Perrick made, which is like, probably one of the most like legendary BMX videos of all time. And it's
Yep.
Dave Perrick project, who is also like one of my favorite videographers of all time, you know? Yeah, so
Legendary.
yeah, legendary. I mean,
And
for
yours is too, man. No?
well, thank you,
No.
but definitely not on like some Dave Perrick level. He's the man for sure. But yeah, so that was like a really I was honored to do that, you know, like to work on that project.
How long
Uh,
did that take? And
we
how does it come about? How does Etnies, like, do they just hear about you from somebody and then say, "Hey, film a DVD"? Like, what the hell, how does it start?
Well, I think so. So they had done that forward video, and at the time when Perrick did it, he was living in California. You know, so they have Joe, Taj, Sandy Carson, like these guys are all living in Ruben. You know, like
Yeah.
guys are all living in Austin at the time, and they're obviously guys that you know. Aside from Joe, he was injured most of the time for that most of that filming period. But so it was just kind of like, you know, I was here and Dave had asked me to like, hey, you think you could help shoot a few things? Oh, and yeah, Taj. I don't know if I mentioned Taj, but Taj, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Even when you
so
don't mention Taj, you've mentioned Taj, you know?
exactly. So Dave was like, hey, do you think you could help out? And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, I was like out when I wasn't on a props trip, I was home riding with these guys like every day, you know, like I lived with those guys, Joe and Taj, for about a year and a half, like right when I moved to Austin. So we were riding all the time anyways. And you know, I was doing this props project, and I had just because I was doing it, I ended up getting an upgrade in camera. I don't even remember what I had, some really, you know, underwhelming camera at the time. And then Chris Rye was like, "Well, hey, if you're going to be doing more prop stuff for us, you know, you should." He had a VX 1000, and he was like, "You should use this," you know. So I bought that off of him. So now I have like a good camera, you know, and I got the Century fisheye, you
The
know.
MK1,
Yeah. So
that's the setup.
I know, it's so good. So it just made sense for me to film these guys a bunch. And you know, when it was all said and done, there were probably maybe like 35, 40 clips in the video that I filmed. So,
Nice.
you know, so that already kind of had like a little bit of a foot in the door, at least with like at the very least with John Pova, who was the team manager at the time,
Okay.
you know. And so
And you're talking about Forward right now. That's
yeah, we're
you
talking
had
about
clips that
forward.
you
So
filmed for
yeah,
Forward.
so
Okay.
so then when the time came for them to do this, you know, the next video to do Grounded, they wanted to do like a road trip and kind of get a bunch of the guys together, talk about ideas for this new video they were going to do, and just really come up with a game plan for it. And so the trip was going to actually be they were going to have like five skate park demos in this trip, and the first one was in Austin, right? So it's going to be the demos at the park, and Mike Manzuri is like heading up the project because he works at Soul Tech, you know, so he's like overseeing, you know, skate projects over there and this BMX project. So he's on the trip, and I can't remember if I'd met him or not. I don't think I had met him yet at that point. But anyways, I go to the demo and I have my camera bag in the car just in case like we need it or something, you know. And this demo is just like it's popping off. It's like, you know, again, Joe, Taj, Ruben, Sandy Carson, Garrett Burns there, and they are all just flying across the park in all these different directions.
Hell
And
yeah.
Mike is just like, holy, you know, he's just like overwhelmed. It's just
Help.
like he was just like, you know, and not to discredit him, he's
He's
amazing, but
incredible.
he was just a little bit out of his element because he hadn't really done much filming BMX stuff and didn't know the lines and you know the tricks
Uh,
that much yet. And you know, we had been introduced at the beginning of the demo, and probably about 20 minutes in, he just came over and he was like, "Hey, do you have your camera here with you?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you please help me?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I would be happy to help you," you know. And then at the end of the evening, he's like, "Hey, do you want to jump in the bus on and come on this trip with us?" And I had nothing going on for that, you know, next week or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, dude, I'd be happy to do that." And by the
Hell
end of
yeah.
the trip, he's like, "Hey, do you want to be, you know, you want to be the other filmer on this project, like, you know, him and me, basically, and you know, a few contributions from some other guys, but
So dope. That's
yeah, it was
awesome.
really, it
So it's
was
just
really
super
cool.
organic. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was totally organic and
Yeah.
it was totally unexpected, but like, you know, I already been getting along. I got along so well with all those guys. And then Mike is like, he's basically like the nicest, coolest guy you could ever hope to meet, especially for someone who's as accomplished as he is and
Right.
what
Yeah.
he's done in his world. Like, he would always be like the first to say, "Hey, what do you think about this? Is this, like he would never like came off as like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Just,
That's sick.
yeah,
That's
it's
humble.
really, he was
Yeah.
a really, really cool, humble guy.
A
And
mensch. Is that the right word? Is he a
what's that?
mensch? A mensch? Mensch?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
I've never used that word before, but Mike Manzor is a
I've
mensch.
definitely never
I
used it.
hope it's a good one. I hope it's a good word.
But yeah,
Speaking
that was a really cool project. Couple years, two and a half or something. And the coolest thing that I got to do with that was just like, that was right when, like, it was kind of a little bit of a changing at the guard of Etnies. It's
Mhm.
like, Joe and Taj and these guys, they were kind of like, they're getting a little bit older and they had a lot of responsibilities with T1 and whatever. And it's the same time that like Aaron Ross and Brian Kaczynski and Curtis Elwell, these guys, Danny Hickerson, these guys all just got put on the flow team, So
Yeah.
I ended up doing like a lot of that, like basically filmed Aaron's part, and Kaczynski's part. And so
So
that was
sick.
really cool because those guys ended up getting the bump to the pro team after the video, because they had put in so much work.
They deserve
Um,
it.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
I can
So
see Aaron's part in my head. That's like imprinted from watching it so much when I was a
yeah.
kid. It's so crazy. Okay, shit, Stu, your whole life is insane with BMX. So what's after Grounded?
I mean, after Grounded, I'm trying to remember. I think so. That would have been like
Oh
two.
wait, pause. Let's
Okay.
stick on Grounded for a second. I want to
Yep.
know, like, you. So your favorite? I don't know. The cool thing was filming the younger guys, but like, give me a memory that you have with Aaron. Like, what pops into your head from filming with Aaron? Anything
Oh
gnarly
man.
or memorable?
I have a terrible memory, but
Me too.
one of the coolest things was, and he didn't end up getting it for that video, I don't believe, but we went to this rail in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was kind of a famous rail. I think it was in like some of the Shine and Shook videos and stuff. And um, Aaron was like, "Yeah, I want to go fakie and hop on this rail,"
Yeah,
and I that was just like unheard of, at
for
the
real.
time. And I mean, I probably still have like all the footage backed up somewhere of just him hopping on this thing in the middle of the night over and over and over and just taking it, and getting so close a few times, and then it just being like having to call it he's at the point of exhaustion and just like just so spent, and all the light batteries are dying and everything, and but it was really cool. That was like my first trip filming with Aaron, and to see a young dude who was like pushing progression that much and just like really putting his all into it. It was like an inspiring thing to see. It's
Hell
just
yeah, yeah.
it's like, yeah, I don't know. It was just really cool to
It
see that.
shows a lot of character. What
It shows a lot of
somebody
character.
seeing somebody like committed and going in is pretty admirable. I
Yeah,
love I
yeah,
love seeing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, seeing Kaczynski go in,
I
oh
can't even
god,
imagine filming Kaczynski, dude.
I
It's
mean,
so
it's
wild.
dude, it's harrowing. It's like, I mean, it is. You see all this gray in my
Yeah.
beard? That's like Brian Kaczynski and Sean Burns right there, basically.
I believe
But
it.
I mean, like how inspiring is that? Like it's especially for being someone who's, your job is you got to go out and film these guys. You want to work with guys that are really into the project and really want to like push themselves and make great stuff,
Right.
like memorable stuff. So that's like, it doesn't get more motivating than that,
Yeah.
like I didn't, sometimes, some of the older guys, they've been on a lot of trips and they've done this for a bunch of years, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to, hey, can you want to come on this trip to film? Oh, well, I got this other obligation or whatever. But when you have a guy like Aaron or Kaczynski, and they're young and they have time on their hands, and it's the goal they're working towards. They want to be professional BMX riders. You
Hmm.
know, I didn't even have to ask them if they wanted to go on trips. I knew every trip that I invited them on, they would go, like, and that's really like, yeah, that's just
That's dope.
something. Yeah, it's cool, like, to see people that fired up and that into a project and want to do it. It's like, yeah, it's
Hell
motivating.
yeah.
It
Well,
helps get you out of bed in the morning to go do the stuff.
for real. All
Yeah.
right. So thank you. Let's move on from
Yeah,
Grounded.
yeah. Grounded, after Grounded, I was still doing Grounded while I was doing a bunch of props work.
Okay.
The but the other at that point, I started kind of dividing my time up because I started working on Anthem 2. Like I was doing, prop stuff, and before that, I was probably doing prop stuff. I was doing like the majority of the issues. But then after the Grounded, because the Grounded stuff didn't really take up too much time, a little bit. We were doing like a trip a month or whatever, but still had time to get the prop stuff in, and I wasn't spending much time at home, so it wasn't really too hard to do that. But then when the Anthem 2 stuff came around, I kind of started handing some of the props duties off onto Walter Perringer. He kind of came on board and started helping out with my workload, which was nice because, at that point, it's you're doing a lot of work for other people, and it's amazing opportunities, and you're working with awesome people. But at some point, you want to do like your own project
Yeah.
where you're
Yep.
just like getting to call the shots on everything, and this is who I want in the video, and this is where we're gonna go on these trips, and yeah, just something. I don't know. I think I would always get that a lot too. Like after I made the first Anthem, and that came out at the beginning of '98, I made a video for Trend, which was the bike shop before Empire, Tina and
Okay.
Tom, that they did before Empire. I made a video for them, and I put a little Anthem 2 commercial in that in like '99. And then all the time I would get people being like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? And I
10
just
years later.
10 years later, because I mean, I did not foresee myself getting, full-time BMX work,
Right. Yeah.
shortly after that video came out. So
That
yeah,
kind of gives me hope for Maloof. His 1235 has had commercials in every video that's come out, and it's literally been 10 years. So anyway,
yeah, I mean, it's not easy to make, when you're doing a lot of projects for other people, it's not easy to make that kind of stuff
right?
happen.
Yeah,
But
especially
it's
when it's the
important. It's
same
important.
thing. It's the same work. Like
It's exactly, it's the same work. It's like, oh, I'm gonna clock out at work, and then I'm gonna
yeah,
go
and I
work,
go do the
and I
same.
might not even make any money off this second job that I'm doing.
Right.
Like, but I mean, it's kind of why you get into doing video stuff in the first place, is because you love it and it's
Yep.
fun. So yeah, it's important to do those kind of personal projects once in a while, I think, and then that one, it had been, yeah, it was over 10 years. It was
Well,
like
what was the first clip that was filmed for Anthem 2?
the first clip that was filmed. Well, that's funny because I had, during the middle of the prop stuff, or in the earlier prop stuff, probably 2003 or 4, I went on a coalition trip, and we were in Salt Lake City.
I
And
haven't heard the name Coalition in so long.
yeah, I was on a trip,
Shit.
and it was like, Ryan Metro, Mike Tag, and I can't even remember exactly who else was on it.
Yeah.
But we were doing a trip in Salt Lake City. And at that point, I had talked to Mike Aiken about doing a part in Anthem 2. So while we're filming at Fuzzy's house and some other concrete park, like Mikey just comes along, and, he does a little riding, and I film it, and I'm like, hey, you want me to just hold on to this? And he was like, yeah, whatever you want to do. So
Nice.
there is like a little section in Mike Aiken's Anthem 2 part where it's like, if you look, the bars are littler,
Yeah.
like you can tell, you're like, oh, this has got it's dated a few
From
years back.
2003. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like filmed like 5 or 6 years before the other stuff. So, but
I
they
think
were
that's
obviously
fitting that Aiken was the
timeless
first
clip.
clip. Yeah, that's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
always, because you can always remember like the instigator of like, oh, okay, this is the first thing, and then you blink, and then 10 years goes by, and you have your video out. What was the last clip filmed for Anthem 2? Do you remember?
Oh man, I want to say it might not be the exact last clip, but it was like one of the last few. It was like the week that we were having the premiere at the T1 ramp. I was still working on the video, like
Hell yeah. My
3 days
guy.
up until, like
Yes.
literally like 3 days up until like the video premiere.
Yeah.
So there's a clip where Chris Doyle does like a tail whip over like a big driveway thing out of it.
Yep.
It's like a ditch.
Yep.
That was in San Antonio, and yeah, that was probably one of the last ones. We
Hell yeah.
filmed a couple things at like 9th Street Trails too with him and Mark Mulville, and so those are probably the last clips, I would assume.
Such a good video, dude.
Oh, thank you.
Why all black and white? I was just talking to somebody about this.
I don't know.
They were really mad that it was all black and white.
Yeah, but they remember it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good
I
point.
don't know. I'd always kind of liked black and white stuff. And I don't know who all would remember this, but there was an old skateboard video called Eastern Exposure 3, and that was all in black and white. And I was watching that a lot in like 97, I think, when it came out. So I had already kind of wanted to do the black and white thing. If you watch, there's a video, my first video ever, 1201, it came out in 95. And right in the intro, there's a few clips that are black and white. And I really love the black and white stuff on there. And I don't know, it's like it just it gives it. I think it gives the video a real consistent feel.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I said. I said, dude,
yeah,
it makes all the footage like cohesive and gives it all the same vibe, which is cool.
yeah,
Because otherwise, you'd be kind of taken off by all the different colors and white balances and all that stuff.
yep, yep, yep,
1201, 35 minutes long on VHS, dude.
yeah,
What the? That's so crazy to think about, and that makes so much sense about your Instagram handle, Stu1201.
yep, yep. 1201 is the address of it was called the Fat House, and it was a house I lived in with the Fat Bald Men, FBM, Crandall,
Yeah.
and Tag and McGilla and some other dudes. But they when they moved to Indiana, they got a house on 1201 Fairfield Street, and that ended up being that was the Fat House, and that's we all there, and that was like that's where 1201, that's where the video was filmed. And yeah, Crandall made a few FBM videos out of that house, and this guy Kip Williamson lived there, and he made a few videos out of that house, and it was kind of weird. Yeah, it was
You
like
got Rat
multiple.
Boy clips in there.
What's that?
I'm looking at BMX MDB, and I see Rat Boy in the list of names. Did you film Rat Boy for
You know,
1201 or no?
I can't remember Rat Boy having a clip in 1201, but we filmed out in Phoenix a little bit. You know, Eric Hillstead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's got a couple clips in 1201, or maybe not 1201. He's got a couple clips in the follow-up video called Lights Out I did in 96. So
Dude,
I
I
could
was
see
5 years old.
yeah, how old?
5.
5. So I could see someone mistaking Eric for Rat Boy if they didn't know any better. Just
Yeah.
like you know, I mean, because Eric was a brakeless street rider at the time, and there weren't
Mhm.
a lot of dudes who were doing the brakeless thing. But yeah, I can't recall Rat Boy being. Oh, you know what? There was a kid from Pittsburgh called Rat Boy, and he was Push Trails local, so he would have been in the video. So
Nice.
that's
Yeah.
the Rat Boy imposter.
Dude, was that your first full length 1201? Is that what you
That
said?
was my first full length, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even. That's funny because are you familiar with Mike Tag?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mike
Like
Tag.
not super familiar. I know the name. He's a legend.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
he moved to Indiana with Crandall, and he had done some FBM videos with Crandall. And then in 90 beginning 95 or maybe late 94, he blew his knee out, you know, riding some trails or a street. I can't remember what it was, but he blew his knee out, and he didn't want to just like sit around the house. So he bought a video camera, and we would go to all these jams and contests and stuff. And he would bring the camera and he would film a lot. Sometimes I would like, hey, let me see your camera, and I'd help kind of film or whatever. But towards the end of the summer, he's like, hey, I have all this footage. You know, you're doing this t-shirt company thing called Scum Clothing. Like, and he always liked the music I listened to. He's like, you want to help me edit this video? And I said, yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know anything about editing. He didn't either, but we knew Chris Rye, and we went to his house in Wisconsin, and he gave us like a crash course in editing, you know, to deck to deck. Like it was just
Dude,
like,
yeah. Like
yeah.
not on a computer editing. Or
Oh no,
is it
no
yeah.
computer.
Phew.
You'd have to put each tape in. You got to fast forward it. You know, you would watch your tapes and write down all the time codes and where the tricks were, and time codes would be broken all the time. And
Wow.
it was a real laborious, like, you know, thing to do.
A process.
Process, exactly. Yeah, so we did this video, and you know, I helped Mike edit it. We didn't know what we were doing. We just on the fly learned it and just did it and put together.
That's what's up.
And it actually went over pretty well. Like we sold a bunch of copies, and like I said, I was doing the t-shirt thing at the time, and this guy Steve Inge, he had this distro. So it was like going to like, you know, they'd go to like Dan's Comp, and they were at races, and all the racer kids would want to buy videos. So they'd
Yep.
be like, hey, what video has a bunch of trails? And they'd be like, this video. And
Scum
you know,
1201, dude.
yeah, Scum 1201. So a lot of kids at the races and at the jumps bought it.
It is so wild to think about BMX in a time with no internet and no computers to edit. Like
Yeah.
That's shoosh. You've seen the whole transition, dude. That's you.
Yeah, it's weird. We would
It's
we would
super
put
weird.
on we would put on jams, and the only way, like, with jumping contest, at our local trails, but we would go to like races, or the national 4 hours away and hand out flyers and with all the directions, and you hope the directions were like right and people could
Yeah.
understand them.
Wow.
And we had a jam, and they were like, oh shit, 150 people just showed up, all over
That's
the
so
place.
sick.
And it's wild because you didn't know who was showing up. It's not like someone was texting you saying, yeah, I'll see you there on Saturday.
Right. Let's jump back to the future. Anthem, and I guess this is still the past, but let's go back to the future. Anthem 2, what was the premiere like for you? Where did you guys do it? That's one of my favorite things about BMX is the video premiere night. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, the first premiere was at T1. It was at the T1 ramp. So
sick.
that was like, yeah, it was incredible. Like, the fact that Joe let us do it there, and wow, there were a lot of people there, and it kind of blew my mind. But for me, it was also really weird because, like, I'm doing all this work on the video leading up to the premiere. Like, I'm sleeping like 4 hours a night, maybe, and like for the last like 12 days or so, 2 weeks of like the editing process, and all the guys except for Aiken, all of them were in Austin, like staying at my place. So it was literally like the parts were not done, it was like, hey, here's all your footage. Here's the song I want to use. I mean, when we went on trips, I would show them what footage I had, but it was a lot of like coming down to the wire, and okay, hey, like come into the room and watch it, and here it is with the music. Tell me what you think. Is there something you really don't like, and I'll try and change it, or
right.
whatever. Yeah, it was really, like, for me, I was really like kind of stressed out, excited, but super nervous and stressed out, and just like kind of working around the clock to like get the video done.
That's the best.
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't know if it's the best. I don't really like
is
that method, but it's kind of just how it's sometimes, a lot of times, that's just how it ends up being,
It's not advisable, but it's really memorable. I'll still remember. I edited the day of my video premiere. Like I know what I know the feeling, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, same. I mean, but it was really important though for me to have the guys here in town, and if we had a couple holes or two, we were doing a lot of filming that last couple weeks also, not just like editing. So it was kind of like, okay, if you want to go get that thing, let's go.
It's now or never,
like,
fool.
Now or never, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wild, a wild ride for sure. I wish it wasn't so hectic, because I would be able to appreciate it more. Like, so many people came to town for the premiere, and like, it's like I walk in, I'm like, oh, hey, Chris Moeller, wow, hey, Matt Hoffman. Like, I didn't know those were even coming, like,
oh, hey, Matt Hoffman.
Yeah, which is bizarre,
Yeah.
He just took the little 6-hour drive down, and he was there. But so it's like I didn't get to really like hang out with people and enjoy them being there. It was kind of just like, hey, how's it going? I got to go set this up, and
I'm freaking out.
I'm freaking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The laptop is still burning the DVD, or
Yep.
So it was pretty hectic, but I look back on it, and I'm really happy about the premiere and everything. It was awesome that so many people came out. I just wish I could have been a little more present to enjoy it,
Yep. What was the most stressful clip from Anthem 2? Like, anything stick out about like bangers or big jump or something that was a stressful situation? Like, it was an amazing video with all those names. Like,
thank you.
Can you think of a clip?
I don't know if I can think of necessarily one situation that was more stressful than others, or one trick. I mean, there was a lot of the Sean
Burns. That's what I was about to say.
It's scary, There, I do remember there's one clip where he rides off of a roof, and then he ice picks down a handrail, and it's like off this church roof. And I do remember him just having, he was really struggling to either get himself to do it, or something wasn't lining up or whatever. And I just remember him being on this top of this church roof, and he's like screaming, F the F at the top of his lungs, whatever he's screaming. And there's like a playground, like, 100 yards away, or
church.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking, yeah, the cops are, I mean, a lot of the situations with Sean, you're like, the cops are going to be here any minute. Like, it's not like a question of whether or not they're coming. it's just a matter of when they're getting there.
Yeah. How much
Because
time do we
like,
have?
yeah, when you're with Sean and you ride into a campus or trespassing on someone's property, like he already stands out like a sore thumb, and the people instantly watching what he's doing. So
Yep.
if he's climbing up on a roof or whatever the case may be, it's like, yeah, people pretty much have like 9-1 dialed, and it's like,
Yep.
hey, there's some maniac on our roof screaming obscenities. Like,
He's a Karen magnet.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we had a lot of people like really freak out on us, but there were some. There was always going to be
Of
some.
course. Yeah.
But yeah, so there were a good handful of those instances with Sean where you just like, but most of the time he would pull through and he would get it, and like that clip, he got it, and he's literally like riding away from it, and the cop comes around the corner, and the cop starts questioning us, and Sean's like, I'm on the roof with my bike, like that sounds pretty absurd. And the cop would be like, yeah, I guess you're right, like
That's good.
yeah, and we'd get out of a lot of those situations
What's
just
for like I've met Sean, I think at some in bike event, but what's he like for people who don't know Sean Burns? How would
I
you
mean,
describe him?
he's definitely a character, he's always like making funny remarks or quotes, movie quotes or whatever, but he's a pretty chill guy. Like people think he's like just like some lunatic all the time, and like they think he's like on drugs or he's just hammered, but he doesn't really drink, and he's pretty somewhat mild mannered, compared to what you would like assume he is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty chill
Good
dude. I mean,
dude.
a lot of that video, like a lot of the trips with me and Sean, it was just me and Sean. Like, because what he does is it's a very like niche type thing, like
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna pedal around a city for 3 days looking for something unique, like it's not like you get out of the car and you go to this spot and you find something for this spot.
Right.
Like he's looking for very unique setups, and that's something like a lot of and a lot of the other guys in the video, some of them would ride street a little bit, but they're a lot more like trail guys and park guys, so
Mm-hmm.
they're not really wanting to spend a week just like pedaling around a city, too much. A
It's a
few of the
totally
guys would
different
do it. Jeff
process.
Slattery would do it,
Yep.
and it was fun,
God,
but
he's
a
so
lot of
good
the time,
too. Everybody's so good in that fucking video, man. It's
dude,
so crazy.
incredible. Yeah, all the guys are incredible bike
Speaking
riders.
of filming one-on-one versus being with a crew, which do you, if you only could do one for the rest of your career, which would you do? Go one-on-one with somebody or go with a team?
That's a good question, because like they both have their upsides, like if you're doing the one-on-one thing, it is really it's really like intimate. Like you really get
Yeah.
to know that person really well. You're just spending all day and all night hanging out with them, pedaling around these cities and working on this project, so that part of it is really cool. The part
Mm-hmm.
that's not cool is when they get hurt, like or you're in a very dangerous situation, and you might, they're getting ready to do something that's potentially like super life threatening or whatever,
Right.
with Sean, the setups, they're not small.
It's not
I
friendly
mean,
stuff.
I
Yeah.
mean, he looks for the stuff that is super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So that is very stressful. It's just you and it's him and your other cameras on a tripod, and like you don't have a spotter, and like, are we going to end up having to go to the emergency room or whatever, so that part is pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Like the quality of the stuff you get is amazing, and it's like, and of course it's like it's a lot less pressure on you filming just one guy, because when you have multiple guys on a trip, you want them all to like come away from the trip being like, oh, I'm really happy with what I got, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they got a decent amount of stuff, so if if you're filming four guys, maybe there's one guy who's not really finding the stuff he wants, and he's just kind of, he might be bumming a little bit, or sometimes you just happen to go to places that the other guys find more stuff, and it's just kind of, you just feel bad for the guy,
Yep.
not as productive of a trip for them, so, and you'd like for them to come away from each trip thinking that it was really productive.
Yeah, I love the team aspect, especially when I was doing the Sabrosa stuff. Like the celebrations after the clips
Oh
was
yeah,
so good, and then,
yeah.
but I really love the intimacy of the one-on-one. It's so
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, they both have their upsides. But
Oh,
yeah, it's that is the cool part when you have multiple guys. It's like the friendships that are being made, and
yeah.
the group stories and whatever,
The
the inside
jokes.
jokes and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I
That
love it.
stuff's priceless. So it's nice to do both. That was the cool part about that project, was it was a lot of both of that style of filming.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, Anthem 2 is a great video, but you've done so much other shit since. So let's get into it, dude. Anthem 2, Grounded, and Props are all going on simultaneously. It's like 2006, 2007. What time is it?
Yeah. I mean, that it was kind of, I think it was when the Grounded thing ended. I think we did a premiere in 2006 for that video.
Anthem 2, 2006?
Or no, the Grounded. I think Grounded came out in 2006, maybe.
Oh, wow. Anthem 2 came out in 2010.
Yep, 2010. So it would have been, I would have ended filming Grounded and started filming Anthem 2.
Huh.
There probably
Yeah.
there probably wasn't much overlap between those two projects.
Right.
Because I just would have been like, it would have been impossible to like juggle three big, full-time gigs, or the props being like the semi full-time gig, but with the other two projects.
How much did you make? Like, were you making a living filming Grounded? Is that
Grounded was actually, the best paying thing that I'd ever done. I mean, at that point, I got put on a retainer, and I think
nice? A retainer, dude. Hell
it
yeah.
was, that was really cool. I was like, wait, you're gonna pay me even if these guys don't hit me up to go film me?
Yes.
Like that was super cool. And the prop stuff, I can't remember exactly what I made. It would have been like, if a props issue came out, depending on how much of it I had done, I probably made like maybe a few grand or $4,000 or
Hell
five.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's like a few months worth of work. But for BMX stuff, and I wasn't doing that full time, but that's like the props issues, but then I would go on a Road Fools or whatever. And I would get little projects here and there. People would hire me to do some random things. Jamie Muron hired me to edit a McNeil video, the first McNeil full length DVD. And, there were other projects that came along, just small things here and there. But yeah, the Etnies thing, that would have been like a couple grand a month on the retainer, or
hell yeah,
$3,000 a month on retainer.
Yeah. Rent is covered.
Like, wow. I was like, honestly, like, because I got that gig, I saved all that money from that gig, and that was the down payment for the house I bought in 2008.
Nice.
Like I used the props money. Like props enabled me to like live and pay my bills,
Yeah.
And then when the Etnies thing came along, that allowed me to save. All the prop stuff was going towards living, and then that Etnies stuff I saved up, and that was just like, I just put it all away, and that definitely helped me. I wouldn't have been able to buy my house without that project.
It's a hell of a year to buy a house. Did you do it after everything?
2008.
Yeah,
I got it at the end of 2008.
The crash of 2008. Did you do it after the crash or at the peak?
Yeah. When exactly was the crash? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I was 18 and not giving a shit about anything.
I want to say maybe I bought the house in September, November.
Let's see. 2008, the fall of the market. Month, real estate crash of 2008 time. December 30th, 2008. So you bought it at the peak of the market then? No? I don't know. Whatever. You bought a house. That's dope. Yeah, not really. I'm real estate adjacent. I make social media. I'm taking a nice cinema camera and turning it vertical and making skits. It's like the younger like filmmaker inside of me is like dying every time I do it, but it's fun. You got to change and adapt, man. Okay, 2008 you buy a house. 2010 Anthem 2 comes out, and then I'm trying to remember if I can remember what was after that for you.
After that, I'm terrible with years, but I started doing some fit work. Yeah. Like Van Homan had been wanting to do another fit full length. This is what the whole Robbie Colt split thing had happened.
2010 till the end. That's how you can remember.
So Van hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, I want to do a full length fit DVD. Would you be into doing stuff for fit?" I said, "Yeah, man, of course." Like,
hell yeah. Iconic
brand, and like the guys that were still with the brand, like Brian Foster and Van and Aiken, and like I was like, yeah, I was totally down. So I can't remember if that was like 2011 or when exactly it was, but they brought me on board to do a lot of work for them. And then sometime, I don't know if it was maybe a year after I started doing the fit work, I got asked to do a Dan's Comp DVD too.
Oh yeah.
Scott
Yeah.
Town, who was
Yeah.
working at Dan's at the time.
Nice.
And like Scott is he's such a treasure to like BMX. Like, guy was like, he was like shooting photos and editing magazines that I was looking at when I was like a teenager growing up, So he was someone I totally respected, and he came to me with that project, and I was like, it's kind of hard to say no to this guy who I look up to, and like just the riders that were on the team at the time. It's like Nathan Williams, Dakota Roche,
Yeah. Stacked.
Devin Smiley, Stevie
Stevie
Churchill,
Churchill. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Shane Weston. I mean, it goes on and on. Alex Magellan, like all these guys, And I was like, yeah, I can't say no to like working with these guys,
For real.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was doing, yeah. So props had ended basically. I think the last prop stuff was probably, it was like
Road Full 16,
11.
17.
Yeah. Which one? Or was it even 18? It was like the premium and premium and whoever one other team.
I can't remember.
I can't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, it had just run its course, and obviously the kind of the DVD was like on its way out the door,
Mm-hmm.
part, and people just a lot of people they just weren't consuming videos in that way, they weren't buying DVDs. I mean,
Right.
I think I got really lucky with the Anthem 2 just because it was kind of a special release type thing,
Yep.
but the prop stuff, yeah, it just kind of
Fizzled.
kind of
Times
went away,
changed.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
so
like a
then,
whole industry kind of went away with
oh
the
yeah,
selling content, like
oh yeah,
physical content. It's so
yeah, for
trippy to think
sure.
about.
Yeah, it took a lot of people took a big hit, like brands like FBM, like that was how they could afford to do team trips, was because they made DVDs and sold them,
Right.
But once they couldn't sell those anymore, they were just really struggling to even do team trips,
Right.
like unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
just unfortunate side effect of the DVD going the way of the dodo bird,
Yeah. Dude, and it's so we're going over these DVDs or big projects that you've worked on, just like briefly talking about them, and it's just thinking about how much actual work it is. I explain to people who don't know BMX, like, hey, yeah, we go out all day and spend 4 hours trying this trick, and maybe he'll get it, and then that's 5 seconds. And
Oh yeah,
we got to fill out an hour or however long the video's got to be. And they're
yeah.
like, that seems kind of dumb.
Yeah, to your average person, it's insane. Like,
It is
why would you
insane.
do that?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, someone's paying me to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's enjoyable, and a lot of the guys I'm working with on these projects are, they're professionals, so they're
They know what's up.
they know how to go out there and put in a hard day's work. But yeah, it's a long and tedious process to do a team video.
100%. So what kept you going to keep wanting to do that? Did you ever want to be like, nah, I'm kind of done with BMX, it's not worth it? Or did you have those moments before these projects came around?
I mean, there are some times when you'll be working on these massive projects, and it's pretty like overwhelming to think, when you're a fifth of the way into making Anthem 2, and you're like, wow, we got to do a lot more trips. I got to find ways to get these trips paid for. Luckily, a lot of the riders, their sponsors were helping get them on the trips.
Yeah.
And in turn, I would, I put a sticker from the brand in the DVD, and they'd get a little watermark on the screen during the rider's part, and a logo on a poster. So you had to really get creative and like, give them their money's worth, to get the guys on the trips. But yeah, you might go on your whatever 10th trip into a project like that, and you still have 10 more to go or 20 more to go, and you might have a couple of days where wow, we didn't really get much today.
Yeah.
That can be frustrating, and when you're doing it, of course you enjoy hanging out with these people and you enjoy the process, but it's not like, hey, I get to go on a 2-week trip this year. It's like you're doing the trips back to back to back to back a lot of the times, and it really comes at like a huge sacrifice to your personal life.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done stretches where I haven't been home for 4.5, 5 months,
Yeah.
and it's just, yeah, it's, you know, keeping like a relationship going, or even just being like, oh man, I miss riding my local spot with my friends, or,
Right.
or especially when you own a home, like, oh man, I got to have someone swing by the house and check on the house. Like, there are times where it's like, wow, this is a lot of sacrifice to do it. But at the same time, you love it. And that's why you got into it, So you have to keep reminding yourself, well, this is fun. It is fun. It's more fun than it isn't fun.
Right. Yeah. It is the
So
dream job. It's like the shit that you dreamed of when you were a kid. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't even like, it wasn't even a profession when I was a kid. Like no one was
Yeah.
making BMX videos and making a living and traveling, like I didn't know it was a thing until like it actually happened to me somehow, like
Yeah. Like,
it
holy
was
shit,
never
I'm doing
something.
it. I'm doing
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it.
Exactly. It was never like a thing like, oh man, okay, I want to try and get a
Let me
job doing
submit my
this.
application to props.
Yeah,
Email
exactly.
email
It was
Chris
like,
Rye. Yeah.
it was like, oh, wait, what? You're gonna pay me to go on that road trip? Yeah, of
Yeah.
course I'll do it, like
That's dope.
so, yeah, it's something, you know, you enjoy doing and you love it, but it comes at a big price, for sure.
What comes to mind when you think of big price? Like, did you lose a girlfriend or something?
No, I mean I didn't lose a girlfriend, but there are rocky times where you know, I mean, and maybe eventually it might have led to that, but there's not like any one instance I can think of, but
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's just that thing of like, finding, well, I can tell you the biggest sacrifice is like you go on all these trips and you're filming and you don't ride hardly,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're going to tell me I'm on a trip with like, pick any of the five most
Yeah.
badass bike riders at the time, and they're shredding all day long. You're
Yeah.
like, you don't have 5 minutes to pick up the or to pick up your bike. And if I do, it's like, okay, I'm going to ride for 10 minutes and then it's going to be really hard to put my bike down. And then I'm going to be kind of shaky and a little
Yeah.
sweaty and the
Yeah.
clip's going to look like shit, and it's like, if that's the thing, is if someone's paying me to go on a trip, to I want to be productive and I want them to be happy with, what we're getting done.
Right.
So that's the big sacrifice, really. It's like, what do people say? What's the saying? Like, find something you love and let it kill you, or whatever, like something
Yeah.
just like you put so much of yourself into that, like, yeah, you
I love
just
that quote. That's a
you
good
miss it.
one.
I
Yeah.
love it, but man,
Yeah.
the older I get, the more it just like rings true. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it's like,
We were
you
texting
know,
earlier. You spending 10 hours behind the computer today, or however long you said. Like,
oh yeah, yesterday was crazy, and today it's like I was gonna do like a solid like day of hammering on some editing, and I didn't even get to do any editing. It was like phone calls and emails and conference calls and like all this other stuff that just kind of like gets in the way, but
yeah, shit.
that, like, I guess that's the thing. It's like, if you love it, you want it to be good, so
Mm-hmm.
you put the time in, and there's no time clock, you don't punch out. You're just always kind of clocked in, unfortunately.
Right. It never ends. It's a life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
it
job.
is a
It's a
life.
life.
It is a life for sure. So yeah, that's probably the biggest drawback, really, is like,
Yeah.
man, there were a lot of times I was at really cool spots and it would have been so fun to pick up my bike and ride it for an hour, and you just don't get to do it.
Yep. I'm working over here.
Yeah,
You're just filming.
that's it.
When did you first go HD? Was it Stay Fit?
No, it was
Not
not.
Stay Fit.
Stay
What
Fit.
was the one you filmed? The
Holy
Fit.
Fit was the one
Holy
I did.
Fit. Yeah.
But I did my first HD camera was a Panasonic HMC 150, and I
Standard.
got, yeah,
Classic.
yeah,
Yeah.
standard, and I got that on we did a Road Fools. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been the Etnies versus Kink Road Fools. I don't even
I
know the
remember
numbers.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the first trip I ever did with my HD camera.
Nice.
So
Before
that was,
we
if I had to take a guess, that was 2007, maybe.
that's around the HD revolution time.
Yeah, yeah,
The DSLRs started coming into play. I
yeah,
still remember it being a thing. Like, oh, sweet,
yeah,
HD is new. That's cool.
yeah. Because
Um,
I still had two VX 2100s at the time, and that's what I used to film Anthem. But I know, like, towards the very well, not it's like the last year of filming Anthem. I think I went on a big European trip, and I was doing some prop stuff and a bunch of Anthem stuff. So I took one of the VXs and I took that Panasonic. So I used that Panasonic for like the static angle on the tripod, for
Nice. Yeah.
back up. But it was just like, oh, I can't be lugging like 3 cameras around in a backpack in Europe.
Yep.
I was like, I
Gotta go
had
light.
one HD and one SD.
One thing before we get to present day or a little more present day is that did you film Garrett Reynolds props bio?
I did. Yeah. I
Tell
did
me
film
about that,
bio.
dude. Tell me about that legendary ass video.
Man, I don't remember. I don't know. Do you remember there was this event? It was like a Halloween trick or treat jam in Rochester.
Yeah, I do
Like,
vaguely
and I
recall that.
filmed it for props. I think, oh wait, I might have filmed it for ESPN and maybe Walter filmed it for props or something. But we were at that event and Garrett was killing it. And I didn't know Garrett very well, but a little bit. I think I had got to know him a little more when we were shooting the Big Daddy Day in the Life for props.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Garrett was living in that house that Big Daddy was living in with like Augie Simoncini and a few other writers. And if
Yes.
Garrett wasn't living there at the time, he was hanging out there a bunch. So maybe during that I might have said, hey, we should, if you're into it, do a props thing or whatever. And he was probably like, yeah, okay. And then at that Rochester thing, I said, hey, you want to let's plan a trip. You come into Austin. And he was,
Nice.
yeah, okay, let's do it. So I mean, we filmed that thing in like 2 trips,
Get
maybe
out of here.
on the East Coast for a few days. And then he came to Austin with JJ Palmer for like, maybe 10 days or whatever it was.
Sick.
And it was quite a sight to behold. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, no matter, obviously it's Garrett, he's like one of the best video part writers of all time. And
Mm-hmm.
no matter what spot we went to, he was like, okay, yeah, I got something. And
Not
it
just
was all
720 down this 16 stair or what? How big was that stair?
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it was just, yeah, that was a jaw-dropping, eye-opening project to work on. and
Yeah.
and just getting to work with Garrett, like he's just like so casual and he's just like so easygoing,
Yeah.
like he's not like he's not stressing anything, he's just super laid back, and wherever you're
Yeah.
at, he's got something for it, and he's like not too fussed about it either way, and it's usually something pretty ridiculous.
And he's not like, who are we talking about that was humble earlier? Mike Manzori. Just like it's the
Yeah.
same with Garrett. He's just a
Oh
dude.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just one of the dudes, but
Yeah.
shoo,
Yeah.
he's fucking
Garrett,
good.
he's the dude, and he's just like, I have to give Garrett like credit. He is probably one of the most down for BMX dudes I've ever met. Like
Hell yeah.
I don't mean that in just like a riding sense. I mean that in like if you're a friend of his, he is down to do whatever he can to help you out, or he's got your back. Like we did this thing for Real BMX one of the years he was in it, and it was like at the very last minute, Apple came on board and they wanted to do like, they just did they wanted a little promotional thing where they wanted like, hey, we want to, in one of these behind the scenes segments, we want to see someone using an iPhone to film,
Huh.
which obviously we don't usually do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not what the show is,
Yeah.
filming on real cameras for real video parts. But so I was kind of in a pinch, like where I needed to make this thing happen. The show was already pretty much all done and shot, like, and so I was out in California, and I said, hey Garrett, like, is there any way I can like pay you some money to come out for a day, bring a couple of the homies, and like, you just film a clip or two of them on your phone, like, and just, we mic you up and we get a couple sound bites of you talking about like, yeah, when I'm out filming with the homies, we'll get something on the phone for Instagram or whatever. And I told him, yeah, we can give you some money to do this, for a day. Like it's, obviously we'll have it in the budget now. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it, but just like give the money to the homies. Like I don't need it.
Hell yeah.
He's like, if this will help the show, if this will help you guys with the show, and like we can give the homies a few bucks, then like I'm down to just go do it.
Hell yeah.
Like,
That's so sick.
and I just thought, what a selfless dude. Like he could have pocketed whatever it was, $1,000 or something easily in a heartbeat, blink of an
Yeah.
eye, doing the same thing he does every day.
Right.
But he wanted to see his boys get that money because he knew that they could use it. So that was like, like before that, I was always like a huge fan of Garrett, but even more so after that, you're like,
Right.
oh, he's the man. Like
He's a
he
good
just,
dude. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah. He
fucking
just wants to
awesome.
see, his friends, do well. And like, he was just down to make the show, for us to be able to get that support from Apple for the show. Like he was just down to like see the show, get that support. He's like, oh yeah, if that helps with the show, then like I'm down to do it. Like
That's so
I
interesting
believe in
that
the show.
I'm so interested in like Apple hits you up and then they don't want their logo or anything on the show. They just want it like
Oh
subliminal
yeah.
marketing. They're
Yeah,
like,
it was totally subliminal. Yeah.
that's interesting
Yeah.
because I'd never thought twice about like, did Apple pay to have them film? I thought that was just like them legit talking about it. So well done.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
Yeah.
real natural integration because that's what
Yeah.
everyone does is
For
everyone's
real.
filming
Yeah.
on their phones. So it's like it's not like we were asking him to be like, "Hey, check out this iPhone," like
Introducing iPhone Reynolds.
exactly. So it was a really natural thing, and that's the thing with Garrett too is like I know he has a high standard, like he doesn't want to do anything that's corny, so I wouldn't ask him to do anything that's corny. We try
Right.
to make it as like natural as possible, and
Well
and he was
done.
he was down to do it, and he had no complaints, and
It's
his
part of
voice
being a professional, you know? That's,
exactly. He is the
yeah.
consummate professional. He's just
Yeah.
like down for the project. He wants to see cool things happen, and if he can do something that helps facilitate that happening, like then he's down to do it for
That's what's
sure.
up. What's it
So
like making the TV show? How did that come about?
that's a like wow, it's a big project. It's
Yeah.
big, scary. Yeah, they came to me, and I guess it was the beginning of well, I can't remember if it was like towards the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016, but I had been doing some contributing a little bit to the X Games, the ESPN website.
Was that through Tunny?
Yeah, through Tunney.
Yeah.
I've known Brian forever. Brian helped do music clearance for props, and like we just, we were good friends, and we would hang out a lot at comps and stuff, those 2000s. And so he was like, hey, yeah, if you ever want to do anything for the site, feel free, like random this project or whatever. And especially since the prop stuff was gone, it was like sometimes there would be a jam that was happening locally or something else that
Yeah.
was, happening that I could easily film. And he would always like say, yeah, if you need a home for it, let me know. And we'd do it. So I had done a bunch of stuff for them in that capacity. And there were a couple bigger projects that I did for the website. I can't exactly remember the years, but they had been doing Real Street, which is the skateboarding show, for maybe that started in 2010. I can't recall exactly. 2009 or 2009, 2010. And it was time for, they were expanding, and they were doing like a snowboarding one, and the time came for the BMX one to happen. And I know it was just Brian who said, hey guys, this is the guy who can do it for us, like. And I guess probably just because I'd worked with Brian over the years at props, and never had any issues, and always got my work done, and done team videos. And I guess that's probably the closest thing you can equate to a TV show when you have these 6 rider parts. Is like it's kind of like a full-length video,
Right.
and you're doing the behind the scenes for it. So anyways, I had just done enough stuff for them, I guess.
Yeah, you've
And
spent 50,000 hours behind a lens filming BMX. I think you're ready for real BMX.
yeah, I think it's just the fact I had done so much stuff, and some stuff for them, and I hadn't really goofed anything up too majorly.
Yeah.
So he just told them that I was the guy, and they listened, and they reached out to me, and I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, I was terrified. I'm not gonna lie. It's like
Yeah,
that's a
it's
very
huge.
overwhelming project. You're like, we had done stuff for props that had ended up on like Fuel TV,
Yep.
contest, a Metro Jam segment here and there, and they repurposed a lot of the prop stuff to be formatted for Fuel TV. So I had stuff that had been on television, prior, but just this thing was like, it was basically like, okay, from the ground up, you're
You're the
in charge of
producer.
this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The producer of the show, technically like the sport organizer for that, event. Cause like when they have any other event in the X Games, back then it was like if they were having a park contest or a dirt contest. Matt Hoffman, the Hoffman Sports Association, was the sport organizer for those. So and that entails, a lot of the, basically I'm like putting my neck on the line to produce the show. Like, you
How
know,
so?
in the fact that I'm like legally responsible for,
Oh shit.
yeah, for so and so is in the TV show and they jump off a roof and they destroy the property and the property owner reaches out. Like, technically, I'm the one they're going to come to. Like, I'm the one producing this show.
Oof.
I'm
Yeah.
delivering the show. Like, X Games, they're smart enough to completely distance themselves from the
Yeah.
other than just like airing it. It's like, okay, you're organizing it, you're producing it.
It's
They
on you.
Yeah, it's on me. Like, I'll do the athlete invite. And a lot of times I would have ideas and I would bounce them off Brian Tunney, and he would be like, most of the time he was like, yeah, and he might, this guy, yeah, this is a great invite list, or he might have like a suggestion for a guy, and so
Hmm.
we would back and forth a little bit on that. It was mostly my call, but I wanted to have Brian's approval and blessing, for the invite list. And then I would just show that to, like, the producer I was working with at X Games. I'd say, hey, these are the guys I want to invite. Here's some stuff of theirs that you can see on the internet. This is why I think they're going to make a great contribution to the show. And most of the time, I mean, all the time, they were like, okay, yeah, we trust you. That
Nice.
was the interesting part with producing those shows. Is I had always, right when they came to me with it, I thought, man, I'm going to get micromanaged to death. I'm going to have
Hmm.
someone looking over my shoulder. They're gonna be, no, you can't invite this guy, that guy, and they couldn't have been more hands off. It was basically like, okay, well, here's the loose layout of the show. This is how the contest has to go. It's this, however many riders you choose. It was like you can have like 6 to 8 athletes or whatever, and I wanted to go 6 because that means, the guys are going to get the prize money is going to be more. It's not getting divvied up between 2 more teams. They're going to have more TV time in the show. Their part is going to be longer, because the skate show was doing 60-second parts with 8 teams.
Hmm.
We did 6 teams with
90
90
second
second
part.
parts.
Yeah. Dope.
So because I'd watch some of those skate videos, I'm like, these are cool, but like I feel like they're over before they even really get started.
Yeah.
So I wanted guys to have more resources. They're getting paid more to do it, and they can devote more time to it, and in the end make a part that's better, that they're more proud of, because they've had time to devote to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. I mean, I can't exactly remember what I was starting.
No, so like the process of, so you
Yeah, the
submit this
process.
as an email all written out
Yeah,
with like a picture and a link to
yeah.
here's what they're doing, and
So,
then
so yeah, so it was like, they were super hands off with that, and basically it was just like, oh yeah, it was like, this is kind of, the contest has to go this way, just in the fact that, like, these guys are submitting video parts, and then you have a panel of judges judge them, and
hmm.
then, you know other than that, however you want to do a lot of the stuff is really up to you. And they always trusted me on my picks, which was really cool. That's the thing I think that they were really smart about. um when they do these shows, these real series shows, they're hiring someone to produce it who's in these sports.
Hmm.
That's, they hire a skate guy to do the skate stuff, and then a snowboard guy to do snowboard, moto, etc. So like, they're smart enough to know, like, they're smart enough to say, hey, better than us who should be in these things. You're a BMXer, you've done it your whole life, and you've done all these videos. Like, we trust your vision for it. And basically I would do the whole, I'd get their blessing on the picks, but they were always like, they never question anything. And after that, I just run with it, and we'd do the whole thing. And I would back and forth with Brian Tunney about it, and I always wanted him to kind of be involved and have some input on it. And then we'd film the show, and we'd send them the screening link, and they'd watch the finished show, and they'd say, okay, that was cool, we might have to take this 5-second thing out because we can't have someone say that on air, or whatever. It was
Yeah.
always a couple, like, very minor changes, but for the most part they just let me run with it. And
Easy
which,
breezy.
yeah, it kind of blew my mind how hands off they were on the whole thing,
I'm
for sure.
curious about the actual shooting of the like judging and the shooting of the, ceremony and stuff. Like, what camera are you using? Where'd you do it? Did you create a set? And what, all right, everybody's mic'd up, or like
Yeah, it was.
Obviously they're mic'd up, but
Yeah,
did you hire people to do it?
it was different every year for sure. Like first year, it was really kind of bare bones. There's this guy, Xavier Mendez, who lives in California, and he's kind of like an old school, like lifer guy, like super cool. I was just asking him, hey, do you know any spaces we can rent in California to do this? And he's like, why don't you just do it at my house? We did it in this guy's living room, and like
Nice.
it was like, me and Chris Rye and Brian Tunney's there, and uh we hired Christian Regal to be one of the camera guys.
Nice.
And I think, and Mark Losey was a big help actually too in the first few years. Like he'd done a lot of like kind of production work where he's like, hiring a lighting guy and a sound guy. So like Mark was definitely instrumental in those first 3 years, helping me kind of wrap my head around a lot of the stuff that we needed to do for this project, and he's just Losey. He's like the sweetest dude ever,
Yeah,
like,
shout out Mark Losey. Talk about legends.
Always like just the worst jokes ever, funniest jokes ever. But like such a great dude to have around, and really like just really excited to help out. And so he was awesome. But so it was like, we did, when we would do those, it was the first 3 years we actually did like, the award ceremony where we had the judges all at one place and all the riders there. And, it was like kind of a big production. The following years after, we kind of did it like, I wanted to switch it up. The third year we did it in like an actual, like, Texas Longhorn studio, like the Longhorn, like Texas UT football studio that like, ESPN was like associated with, and it was like a full on legit TV studio.
Nice. Yeah.
And after that, I was like, I'm not going to get anything better than that, like a real legit TV studio. Yeah. And I don't want to take a full step backwards. So I just wanted to switch it up and do the more intimate interview the judges in their houses. And like, it's like, you can get some really cool feedback when you have someone just one-on-one, like you might have 3 judges at the like award ceremony, presentation thing or whatever. You might have 3 judges at the table, and someone talks about a topic, and maybe this other judge was going to talk about that topic and say something kind of along the lines, but in a different way. But now he's not going to say it because someone else already talked about it, So it was like, it was really cool that way. Like, I think the judge feedback was like amazing. It's been good all years, but those years it was really nice. And it was nice to not have the stress of, getting flights for 15 people and hotels. And like, it's such a huge undertaking, and stressful. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. You're spending so much money on one day, and you're hoping everything like goes right.
Right.
It was great getting everyone together. That was priceless. Like the reactions, like with all the guys together, watching the parts for the first time.
Yeah.
That was like super, super cool. And I think that meant a lot to those dudes too,
Yeah.
But it was nice to change it. But anytime we had done a shoot like that with like a lot of people, we were always hiring like a lighting guy and a sound guy, and
full production.
They were handling that, but we always kept the cameramen were always BMXers, and everyone organized, and it was all BMXers.
That's awesome, dude. It's like, can't be said enough. It's so huge for BMX to get X Games real BMX. So you've done well, and like represented the sport really well. So
thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be able to like work on a project like that, like, just but if you look at it from the simple fact of like, throughout the years, you might have someone like, I think maybe Edwin, you talked to, when was the first time you saw BMX? I saw it on the X Games, I saw Dave Mira on the X Games, and of course that's not the type of riding Edwin ended up in doing, but it's like, a lot of people got to see BMX somewhere for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
And,
some kid is like, his dad brought him to a bar, is like looking at the TV screen and sees X Games real BMX. And it's just like, oh, maybe I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it means a lot to see like that there could be a kid who's going to see BMX for the first time. And it's like something that's more kind of, and I'm not knocking ramp riding and competition and all that stuff. All of it's great. It has its place. But like, I think a lot of us, and probably a lot of people watching, your podcast, are like, they love street riding. They
Street
love,
dogs.
yeah, street dogs. Like it's just to them, there's nothing more pure than like going out and pedaling around a city and
Yep.
and enjoying your bike that way. You don't need a crazy multi-million-dollar skate park, or you don't need like the most badass trails ever, like within riding distance.
Yep.
It's like it's something that is like attainable for everybody. The street is right outside your front door.
Yes.
So for a kid who could potentially get into BMX, to see such an authentic version of it, on a television screen or computer screen, and that might be their first time being exposed to it, like, that's for me, that's like it's a really important thing. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to like make something really cool that those kids can see, and like, and you have these different representations of BMX, like if you look at the first year, we have Garrett Reynolds, who's like the man, he's winning every X Games comp out there. You have Van Homan, who's like the most legendary street rider of all time, like
Yep.
the king at filming video parts. And then you have Devin Smiley, who's like tech wizard,
Yep.
like, so stylish. And like, and then you have a guy like Colt Fake, who comes from out of nowhere, and he's just like jumping, he's like throwing Molotov cocktails and jumping off roofs. And he's just like, like that. I think that's one of the things that's like, for me, it's so important because when I got into BMX, like when I discovered like what BMX really was, I was already riding, bikes around town and like, always had a bike. But when I discovered what BMX really was, I would open up the magazines and I would see this guy. His name was John Diz Hicks, and he was like a freestyler, and I wasn't necessarily much of a freestyler, but I was into heavy metal, and this guy was like super into heavy metal. Like he was a sponsored rider, but he had like crazy long hair, he looked wild. He had like, Metallica stickers on his bike and his whatever, and I had long hair too. And I just saw this guy and I instantly like related to him, because I didn't relate to like, I didn't get into baseball or football or any of that stuff, because I just kind of didn't really relate to a lot of the people that were doing it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with those people, but I was like, they all had short hair. I lived in like a small town in Indiana, so everyone was like either a farmer or a jock, kind of,
Right.
So
you were an outcast. You were a heavy metal outcast.
I was kind of an outcast. So to see a guy in the magazine and be like, oh, wow, I identify with that guy. Maybe not some of the other guys in this magazine, but this guy,
right,
like, in particular, like I'm really all about what this guy's all about. Like, and just having something, seeing someone that you can kind of relate to, in some kind of characteristic, like, yeah, like, a kid who's into hip hop and he sees Chad Curley in Real BMX and he's like, oh man, I can like be into hip hop and ride my BMX bike and do technical street riding. Or you see Colt Fake and he's listening to punk rock and he's jumping off a roof and he has long hair and, holes
like,
in his.
I want to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's like the most important thing for me, is that people can see it and they can relate to somebody in that lineup, that's like, oh, wow, I like what he's doing. And that might pull them into BMX a little easier, or make them, just make them relate to it and want to be a part of it. So
yeah, like I said, dude, you've done good. And you just did the most recent thing, which I watched, was the best of, which was so dope to just see, because like you don't realize, holy shit, there's 5 or 6 years of this real street that is already, it all happened like so fast, and now just reflecting on all of it. And Jordan Hango is so good, dude.
Oh my god, yeah, 36 video parts. Yeah, we in the course of the series, we've done 6 video parts each year, so we've had 36
all hammers, dude. Nathan Williams, like, obviously, and Dakota killed it on the talking. Like, I was so
he did
so good on just like commentating.
He hosted one year, the 2021. He was our host. Yeah,
very good.
And he's been a judge multiple years. He's been a host, and just like, that guy is the epitome of street riding, really.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Epitome of a street riding professional,
For
like
real.
Goes out, he puts in the time, the work, the love, the blood, sweat, tears. And for me, like, I'll get that guy involved with any project, anytime I can,
That's what I'm saying. But my question is there something coming? I interrupted you. Go.
Oh, that's okay. There's talk of bringing the real series back, and it's kind of being worked on right now. So I'm hoping like for next year, I'm hoping that will happen.
Cool.
There is like a project that's kind of being, it's been hinted at a little bit on the X Games Instagram. There's a real street BMX best trick event happening
Oh,
in
do
Southern
tell.
California. Yeah, it's happening next month,
Fuck yeah.
right around the X Games. But there's a lot of, yeah, I can't really give any details out right about now. But
So I watched the skate one that was just like at a school with permission, and they were just skating a famous street spot and going. It was a best trick jam, and I was like, "This is so sick." This is like I think I watched it a year or two ago, and I was just like, "I wonder if BMX is ever gonna do this."
yeah, it's a yeah, it's a cool concept. I mean, especially like I think for street riding it's amazing. Street riding's amazing. Riding plazas is cool. Plaza events are cool, but like I want to see like these guys get down on like what they really get down on.
Right.
Like so like anything that you can have a more authentic version of it.
Right.
Like I'm all about it. I think it's a step in the right direction for like street riding events for
I'm
sure.
gonna give a metaphor for it, but I don't want. Are you still vegan?
I mean, I try to follow a vegan diet as much as I can. I'm not
I
like
was
a, I'm not like super, I'm not like 100% strict, but
I was
I
gonna
am
say it's
like
like
if my girlfriend makes a batch of cookies and she's like, "Hey, do you want one of these cookies?" I'm probably gonna eat the cookie. I'm not gonna ask what's
nice.
in it. But for the most part, yeah, I try to follow a
My
vegan diet.
my metaphor for this contest is like plaza riding is like fake chicken, and then the real street spot is a nice chicken breast, you know. But well, but you vegan, man. I'm like considering going vegetarian again. I did it for a little bit, and I was like, it would help. I think trim up. Anyway, that's a side note. Whatever. Uh, what else are you working on? If we could, I'm so stoked that we got to talk about the X Games stuff. I've been thinking about that all day. Talking, I was like, I can't wait to talk to Stu about the X Games
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that stuff, I'm still doing like a lot of stuff for Fit and S&M.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
just recently like got reunited with them, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess was it last year? I mean, it kind of I did a couple little projects for them because it kind of makes sense. Some of those guys come here during the winter, like you have guys like Matty Aquazap and Tom Dugan and Matt Nordstrom that they live in Austin, but
Mm-hmm.
there's always, Clint Reynolds is out in the winter is coming to visit, and the Hallahan brothers and stuff like that. So they had been needing some more help, like the Justin thing fell through,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "Hey, do you want to help out and do some more stuff?" And I've always gotten along with Chris and Melissa really well. I've never had any problems with them. So I was like, yeah, of course I'd love to do some more stuff for you guys, and
Yeah.
it's like I enjoy working with, all the dudes that they have on board. And I love the building, going to the building in California and seeing like, all the people that work there, and like, them just putting out like super awesome quality stuff. Like, I don't know, it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's like an honor. For me, it's an honor to do stuff for them. Like, as far as a brand, like, like I just have huge respect for Chris for what he's built with S&M and Fit, like to do those brands for so many years, build them up from the ground up, and have your own warehouse and your own machine shop, and you're doing so much stuff there, and like
Right.
being
It's a
all
lot.
these BMXers employed, people that work there, and like riders, and doing all this cool signature stuff with guys. It's like, I don't know, it's cool. I definitely take there's a sense of pride there for doing stuff for those guys, and
Tell
I
me
love it.
about the Young Buck project. What was it called? The San Francisco thing?
Was it like bucking in the bay or
Yeah,
something?
Bucking in the Bay. Did you do that project?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
It was
That
really well done because it was like I like it when it's broken up into riders parts. And I like it. You did a good job of like making it not a commercial, but like really plugging the products, which was
Yep.
well done. And the riding was fucking incredible. Like, but I can't help but think like we got Stu, who's been in the game since '95, and then we got these 13-year-olds basically. Like, so what's it like
Yeah,
on a
no,
trip?
it was super fun. Like Melissa, Melissa had told me for a little while. Hey, we're working on these Young Buck frames, and it's like, the Max Miller, Milky, Cole Volker. It's like a three-way signature frame,
A new
those guys.
generation.
Yeah, it's cool because those guys actually all agreed on, they were all looking for a very similar geometry, you know, that the other
The
one
new
was looking for.
poppy modern geometry, is that what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
No,
I don't know the details too much,
me
but
neither.
they were all looking for something, almost identical. And it's funny because those three guys are the three different sizes. Max is a little on the, he's like on the shorter side a little bit. Milky's kind of like, your average height, and then Cole's just like a giant.
Yeah,
So those guys,
20.5, 21,
they have this
21.5.
three-way signature frame, and they all ride the three different sizes of the bike, which is pretty awesome. But
That's pretty rad.
yeah,
I
so
didn't I
Melissa,
didn't know it was the same frame. I thought it was all different frames, but
yeah,
that's
it's like
sick.
it's
Yeah.
like frame and bar, the Fit Young Buck frame and bar. So
Sick.
yeah, so Melissa had been telling me, hey, yeah, we want to do some kind of promo with all three of these guys. When the bike comes out, would you be down to do it? And of course, I'd never really spent much time with Milky or Max Miller. Had never really filmed with those guys, but I'd done a couple trips with Cole, and he's like the nicest dude, and shreds. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do this. Like, let's figure something out. And she's like, okay, well, they want to go to the Bay, so let's just do something. We've
Hell
only
yeah.
got like 4 days or whatever to make it happen. So well, yeah, we went up there in 4 days, and those guys produced, and that's what we came away with. And it was fun because I wanted to, I didn't want it to be like, okay, we're making this promo, but it's three guys. I don't want it to be like a mixtape,
Right.
like, and they're all on their different colorway bike. And so I was like, well, hopefully we get enough footage to, like,
Split
make
them up.
something with, yeah, split them up, and each give them like a little part, and it worked
Yeah.
out.
You
It was
did
really,
great. They did great. Sorry for calling you guys 13-year-olds. I hope you're listening.
yeah, you
Shut
better be
up.
careful.
They're
Max is
incredible.
like the
Yeah.
toughest dude I've ever met. Oh my God, man.
Max, I don't want no
Dude,
beef, man. I'm vegan.
dude, he put himself through the ringer. I could not believe that guy was actually still walking at the end of that trip, because
Yeah.
yeah, and not
He
a
goes
knock on
in.
him, but I had never seen anyone crash that hard. I mean, that's how much work he was putting in,
Hmm.
you got to love those guys too. The guys where it's like, maybe they're not the most natural bike rider, but they're gonna work their ass off, and they're gonna come away with something they're proud of, and
Dude.
that's someone I think of, like a Brian Kaczynski, like,
Yep.
who's just gonna, by their own sheer willpower, they're gonna make stuff happen, and
Yep.
that's super respectable, like, yeah.
That's a hell of a compliment. Max Miller, Brian Kaczynski in the same sentence. Shout out Max Miller, dude. That's
Oh, for
awesome.
sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
I was
great.
impressed with Max, and he's just,
Yeah.
dude, I can't believe you're still walking after the first day. You're still walking,
Are
let
you
alone
sure
the
you're all
last day.
right?
Yeah, it was impressive.
um,
But that was
so,
a fun trip. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing some more stuff with those guys at some point for
What
sure.
else is cooking for them? If
Uh,
anything? Is it are you like on salary with Fit, or just
no,
a
it's just project
project?
based. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just independent contractor, project based. I mean, they're really super cool about, like, when the X Games stuff was kind of coming back around, they're like, hey, we know that's a good paying gig for you, and you enjoy doing it. So, that's cool. Do what you got to do. And whenever you have time to squeeze us in, we're down to do stuff. And yeah, so it's a
Nice.
good program. They're super understanding about that
Yeah.
kind of stuff,
I feel like that kind of makes sense for the where the industry's at right now. Like having a full-time in-house videographer is kind of, I don't know. I don't, can you think of one? I can't think of one.
I don't know. I
You know what I
mean,
mean? Like
yeah, I
who has
mean,
a full-time filmer?
yeah, I don't know. Is Tony
Colt,
film? I mean, Tony
Vish?
films a
No,
lot.
Tony's.
Tony films a lot for Fiend, but he's not.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
Tony Ennis. Yes, yes,
Tony
yes.
Ennis. Yeah,
Tony Ennis might be the last bastion of like full-time brand filmer. That's to think
could
about.
be, could
Yeah,
be.
that's
Yeah, I'm not
interesting.
sure, but yeah, I mean, Vish was out there doing it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
but he's moved
God,
on now a
props to
little bit.
Vish. Like, what
Yeah,
a create, endless treasure of, like,
right.
creative
Yeah,
eye. Yeah, I love Vish, coolest dude, and just like, uh, he has like his own thing, and like
he's
you
so
see it,
unique,
you're
dude. Talking
instantly
to him,
like,
he's
that's
so
Vish,
unique. Yeah.
like, you can't
Yes.
mistake it.
For real. And
But
I don't know what like he developed Colt's video style, and it's very
oh
unique and like
yeah,
immediately recognizable, which is very cool. And the fact that he can produce his own music, I'm very jealous. I'm like,
oh dude, yeah, jack of all trades right there.
yeah, can you produce beats? Can you
Oh my
produce
God, no,
any
no,
music? You got what
I'm
are
not.
you what are your other talents, Stu? Do you have any hobbies, Stu?
Nah, I can't think of any really. I mean, the running, the walking, the running. I
Yeah,
mean,
walking and
for
running,
me,
that's
if I
good.
can ride my bike, if I get time to ride my bike, that's a treat, you know, like
Yeah. What's your favorite trick?
my
Like,
favorite trick.
yeah.
Ooh,
When was Stu in his prime?
what
95?
year? Oh, when was I in my prime?
Yeah.
95.
95 was prime. Should I go and watch 1201? I think it's
95,
online.
98. I mean, I don't have a part in any, I don't have like a real part in any video. I think I had some small parts in like FBM videos, but that was like just a few clips that Crandall had gotten wherever, you know, like along the way. I never like really actually filmed for like a part, but I mean, I
Even
kind
still, what are you
of,
most
I
proud
was
of?
into, what's that?
What are you most proud of? Clip wise,
Clip wise?
thinking back.
I don't know. I used to do a bunch of the bar spins. I did like
The bar
probably
spins. I used to do a bunch of
oh
the
yeah,
bar spins.
I was like the big bar. I was way into the bar spin. So
Hell yeah.
I think in like 96, I did a bar spin one way to bar spin back, like over on dirt jump. So I was pretty happy about that.
Damn. Bar
But
back on 96,
yeah,
dude. That's
yeah, I was,
fire.
I mean, it was a Hail Mary. It was just like I could do regular bar spins pretty easy, but I had never done an opposite bar spin. So I just like smacked it and hoped I would catch it.
Nice.
I've done a few of those, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if necessarily have anything that I'm like proudest of, but I end up
That's good
doing.
enough, man. The
Yeah,
bar back.
I had a photo in a Tread magazine that I was really psyched on, like a look back photo that Chris Holman took, and I was
Sick.
probably like the one thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm really psyched on that photo. Like,
Hell yeah. I did that shit.
I know
That's
my
fire.
Instagram somewhere, but yeah, it was a fun one.
Scroll deep. Go watch 1201.
But I stay behind the lens, more comfortable behind the lens.
What's been your favorite camera over the years? VX 1000?
I mean, probably the 2100. Is
Nice.
that the not popular opinion, but
I'm with you, dude. I've never touched the VX 1000. I
yeah,
love it.
I had a 1000, but when I got it, it was already used, you know, and at some point when you're using those things a lot, it just kind of dies a slow death. And
It's a sad
well, I
death.
had a couple 2100s. I loved them. Yeah, I was really, I mean, that's when I was doing a lot of stuff with 2100s.
Yeah.
You know, like like the heyday for props, just like backpack with two 2100s. And I was like,
If you kept all the 2100s that you've had, how many would you have?
I probably only had like 3 or 4, you know, but
Nice.
they'd get serviced every so often.
Nice. Okay.
Some would go
Yeah.
out and get them fixed. And
There's a guy.
that was the nice part about props is like if my camera was getting beat up, I would just like I could send it in and get it fixed, and Marco would handle it. You know,
Hell yeah. I like that.
it was good. I like that. I have a FS5 that I use right now.
What is that?
Sony
Sony.
FS5. Yeah.
FS?
Mhm.
I've never heard of it. Sony
Yeah, I mean, I
FS5.
think Navaz had one. Maybe Navaz had one. I know Peter
Oh, it's a
Adam
little
had one.
camcorder. No.
Yeah, yeah. No, Peter
No, that's
Adam
not a
had
camcorder.
one. No, it's not a camcorder.
Okay.
It's this
Oh.
guy right here, which it's actually sitting next to me.
Oh, nice. That's a beast.
Yeah, but I'm not like much of a camera weenie, really. You know, I don't
Yeah,
get.
just film the shit.
I use what I have until it breaks,
Yeah.
or if I'm forced, or it's so old that the technology is just like outdated. Have to update, you know. But,
Mini DV tapes, man. There's just so much time. Like
so
I
many glitches, so much time, so many glitches.
My buddy Troy Blair. Oh, you know Troy Blair.
I know Troy. Yeah.
He did a banger for Mediocre 2, and the tape fully glitched, and I lost the clip completely. And the only angle that I have is from a cell phone, but it's better looking than the fucking VX, so it's still good.
Yeah, of course.
Like, oh
yeah,
God,
I don't miss that tail end of like filming Anthem 2. It was getting stressful because the tapes were starting to get a little bit glitchy, you know, and I just I was terrified, you know. I don't recall anything getting ruined, but I know like post video, like after the video was done, there have been a few times I popped some tapes in to try and find something, and I had some tapes get like kind of chewed up a little bit.
Yeah, it depends on what camera you're putting it in. That could chew it up, and you never know if like one of these things are grumpy, they might destroy a tape that I got. You know, it's a nightmare. Dude, we talked about your whole life. Let's talk about. Let's do the podcast questions.
Okay.
You're a listener. You know them. I asked you one.
I'm a listener. What are we going with first? Are we going with the Mount Rushmore?
Let's go with writers that I don't know that I should know.
Writers that you don't know that you should know. Okay, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I'm on social media, and I already spend way too much time on my phone. So I only really follow new people if it's something that I'm really like really psyched on or really impressed with, But I
Yep.
try not to spend too much time on my phone in general because it's a time waster,
That's
obviously.
healthy. Yeah.
So, but when I am on my phone, I want to see people that kind of like inspire me. And half the time that's like older people that are still riding.
Okay.
So like if I want to go with somebody who I think is a good person to follow, do you know who Matt Copeland is, who works at Profile?
Yeah.
Matt Copeland, he's a Profile team manager. He's a dude, and I don't know exactly how old Matt is, but he's got to be in his early 40s,
Yeah.
maybe
I've
mid
been
40s. I
I've
don't
been
know.
knowing
Maybe
about Matt Copeland my whole BMX life.
Matt
So, but I
Copeland
haven't
is
been following him.
awesome.
So
He's
hell
a
yeah.
dude who, in my opinion, he in his older years, and I'm not trying to call him a geezer or anything, but he still is always pushing himself and always really actively trying to film good clips. And like you can tell that he's a dude that he sees a setup and he's like, I got to do something on the setup. I got to figure something out for this setup.
Yep.
And he works I'm sure working at Profile, he kind of like does it all. I know he's like the team manager and packing orders and doing a lot of stuff, wears a lot of hats there. So it's like inspiring for me to see Matt take like time out of his busy schedule to make time to ride and like, do stuff
Yes.
that's like fulfilling to him and like learn new stuff. Like
And he's killing it, dude. He's riding like how
he's
old?
killing
How
it.
old are you saying he is?
Oh, I mean, Matt's got to be. I'm sorry, Matt. I mean, I'm gonna
That's a
just
fun
say
game.
Matt. I'm gonna say Matt. I'm gonna say Matt's 40, give or take a few years.
Okay, cool. Plus or minus
Maybe
40 and
maybe
killing
he's
it.
45. I don't know, but I've never
That's
asked
great.
him. He's very youthful, I think.
How old are you?
I am 49.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I'll be 50 in December, which is like mind blowing
That
for
is mind
sure.
blowing. Dude, I thought 30 was mind blowing and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to be around for a while." 50.
Oh yeah, I remember being like a 16-year-old and someone was on a BMX bike at our trails and they were like 22 and I'm like, oh my god, look at this geezer.
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
like, yeah, so it's pretty weird to think that I'm that
Well,
old. But I mean, like, same thing. We're talking about people to follow or whatever. I mean, everyone knows who Dennis McCoy is, but like,
mhm.
how old's Dennis? 54, 55, maybe 56. He's still out there killing it. Like, was that earlier this year or last year? He went on that trip to Colombia with Haro, and he did the 360 down the like 10 stair or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that clip?
Yeah, that
I mean, that
loose
guy's
360. It was so
he's well
sick.
into his
Yeah.
50s and he's still doing killer stuff like that.
What is his Instagram? Why can't I find
Is
him?
it DMC, BMX,
Yeah,
DMC,
that's what it is.
BMX?
BMX DMC. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I wasn't following him even though I should be.
Yeah. I mean, talk about inspiration, like,
Yep.
oh, and there's another guy. I don't know if you're familiar with Rob Ridge. You ever hear of Rob Ridge?
Uh-uh.
His Instagram is, let me see, I think I wrote it down here. Robert Ward, his middle name, Ward, Ward, Ridge, Ridge. And I'm not sure on his age either. He's got to be probably, I would imagine, around the mid 40 to 50 range.
Huh.
He's like a tech ramp rider guy, rides for Standard. And I guarantee if you go on his Instagram and you watch any of his clips, you're gonna be like, what the hell? Like, he is a dude who is like spending hours and hours and hours on single clips, mini ramp clips, street spine clips, whatever, trying to do a
Robert
crazy.
Ward Ridge.
Yep, Robert Ward Ridge,
WARD. Huh.
Wardridge.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. It's not
Hmm.
coming up. Dang. Oh
Let me
well.
let me double check it. But
Yeah.
anyways, like just like the most insane, crazy tech combos, like front brake.
Sick. Yeah. I love seeing that. This is a fun angle of it because usually it's dudes telling me about like younger kids that they're following. This is sick. I like this. Educate me, Stu.
All right. Man, I had it up earlier. Now I'm struggling to find it.
He's got a great name, Robert.
Yeah, maybe he knew he's very underground, so maybe he knew this was going to happen in
It's like I don't
Oh,
want them.
okay, here we
I don't
go.
want the
I figured it
leftovers.
out. I figured it out. It's Robert and then Robert
Mm-hmm.
and then there's an E.D. Edward. Oh, it's Robert Edward Ridge. Sorry. I thought it
Robert
was
Edward Ridge. Oh,
Robert
okay. Boom.
Edward Ridge.
Boom.
You could,
Re-
if you want, you can edit out
reverted
that
word.
5 minutes of me fumbling around for his Instagram handle,
No need, dude. We keep it raw, Stu.
but check it, check a clip of his or something,
All
man.
right, let's go.
It's just super inspiring to see. For me, like I'm inspired by younger guys, but I'm inspired by older guys who are like still out there doing
100%. Yeah. Oh shit! Cool.
Yeah,
That
I
is
mean,
rad, dude.
dude,
Yeah.
it's really, you don't see people ride like this, like the
Yeah.
stuff he's doing.
The backwards nose mails.
Yeah,
With
I mean,
the
it's like
with the
the
brakes.
Midwest
Look at
style ramp riding, but it's like super impressive. But and there's a healthy mix of like flatland stuff like mixed in there too. Just total freestyle, you know?
Yeah. That's so dope.
Yeah. But
Right.
there is also too, though, you're asking for younger riders, and there's a kid here in Austin that I met recently, and his name is Ford Chilton.
That's a fun. I haven't heard of Ford Chilton.
It's a good name. It's Ford_Chilton. And I just met this kid in passing at the pump track one day, and then there was a little trail jam at these best side trails in Austin, like where there was a little jam, and he's probably like 9 or 10, and he's not
12, yeah.
Well, is he 12? Okay, sorry.
Says in his bio.
Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, Ford. Didn't mean to like make you sound
Ford, you baby.
But he's like he's like, you know, he's not like some phenom rider, like where he's like this young kid doing like backflip tail whips at 10 years old. He's just like real simple riding. But like I was at the pump track one day and he kind of handled this little transfer that I was kind of sweating, and he did it like without even thinking, and then like stylish. And he seemed like a really nice kind of soft-spoken kid, like really humble.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something I'm just like,
shout out Ford Chilton.
Shout out Ford Chilton. Sometimes you just see someone and you're like, you have a feeling that you're like, okay, this is cool what they have going on, but you can just kind of see it like evolving into like something, you know, like maturing into something really like kind of special. He just, yeah, I don't know.
I really wish that I could be doing 180 toboggan bars when I was 12 years old.
Exactly.
Ford's got a good future if he loves the shit and he keeps going. Then
yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So that stuff's inspiring to me too. So
that's a good. Give me one more old school that I need to be paying attention to or learn more about. I mean, you've interacted with everybody. Like we brought up Mike Tagg earlier, but maybe a Midwest old classic or a friend of yours from back in the day that is legendary I should be learning about, or what?
Well,
yeah,
I'm not even sure. Let's see if he's on Instagram, but you know who Chris Hallman is?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
Okay, Chris Hallman. He is probably one of the most underrated BMXers of all time. He did Tread magazine with props for a few years. Amazing photographer, went on a bunch of Road Fools, used to ride for Standard, but his Instagram handle is
Hall Person.
That's
I found him. Yeah, Christopher Hallman. Yeah. All right.
So like he's a total shredder, but he's like very humble. So I don't know that you're even going to really see any photos or footage of him riding on his Instagram. Yeah. You'll see a little bit, but if you go back a ways on his feed, you'll see a lot of amazing BMX photography throughout the years. Like just incredible photographer, big contributor to Dig and even some ride stuff back in the day, but just like very humble dude and interesting dude. But
Hall Person. I love
Chris Hallman.
Chris Hallman. How'd you meet him?
I met Chris from going to, actually it was 1994, and I was going to this contest in Florida, park contest that Play Clothes was putting on, and I was going to Pittsburgh to pick up a couple of my friends, and they're like, hey, this guy Chris is going to come with us. And then I went to pick up my friends in Pittsburgh on the way to Florida, and Chris Hallman got in the van with us, and after that I was a fan.
How many hours do you think you've spent in vans?
Oh my God, I don't know. I put 300,000 miles on my last van. So, and that's just my van. That isn't like rental vans or team vans or anything. Yeah.
Sheesh.
And I retired that like 4 or 5 years ago.
What are you rocking now? You got a van?
Yeah, I got a Ford Transit. The
cool.
2018 Ford Transit, the big boy.
It's like necessary. It's part of your job to have a van.
Yeah.
I kind of
It's
miss having a van, dude. It's a
yeah, I
shit.
haven't needed that as much as I did in prior years because it's just like I haven't been doing a lot of like driving this van around the country. Like when I was doing prop stuff and all these other projects for people, I was driving all over the place. It's funny how the reason I got that van is because when that Etnies Grounded project came along, in my contract, they said, "Hey, if you need to use a vehicle, we'll pay you, what do they call that? We'll pay you so much per mileage that you put on your own vehicle."
Nice.
And I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'm going to need to drive across the country multiple times. So this is going to help me buy a van. So that helped me buy a van. That basically, I bought
Nice.
that van. And then, like, within 4 years, 5 years between using it for like, all these different projects, it basically paid itself off,
Yeah.
like
That's
props.
fire.
Like if we had to do a props road fools, we would have the bus and we always have a chase vehicle, right?
Hmm.
Well, the chase vehicle, to get the shots of the bus and whatever. And if there's a small group that wants to break off and go across town and hit something else up, so they would always have to rent a van. So Marco's like, well, if you just bring your van, I'll just pay you the money I was going to pay a rental company for the van.
Yep.
So like I'd take my van on a props trip and I'd make $1,000 for 10 days for using my van,
That's so
like,
sick.
so yeah, it worked
He's,
out.
you're a hustler, Stu. You're a hustler. I love
Yeah.
it.
I didn't plan on it, but it just ended up working out that
Working
way.
out.
So,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
dope.
I wasn't going to complain at all.
All right. Let's do Mount Rushmore, huh?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
It's such a tough one,
Well,
because it's an
the first
impossible question.
three for me, the first three are super easy. Matt
Okay.
Hoffman. It's
Okay.
Matt Hoffman.
I think you might be doing the correct answer. Go on.
He brought BMX freestyle back from the dead in
Boom.
the early 90s when there were no magazines and all the big brands were like, not even the big all the small brands were dead, and a lot of the big brands were not very interested in doing BMX stuff anymore. Matt took it upon himself to buy an 18-wheeler and tour the US doing sprocket jockey shows single-handedly, like showing people what BMX was,
Hell yeah.
like Morgan Wade, the first time he ever saw like real BMX in person, he saw Matt Hoffman doing a show at the Texas State Fair.
Wow.
And he was like, I want to do that, which
Wow.
obviously it shows. It shows
Yeah.
in Morgan Wade.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, Matt,
incredible.
Matt
Yeah.
is just like, I don't know that anyone has like sacrificed more or put more of their blood, sweat, and tears into BMX than Matt Hoffman.
Hell yeah.
So, and he's the nicest dude ever. Like, so he's my number one.
What was your
Number
first
two,
time meeting him before you go to number two?
first time meeting him, I did meet him in Chicago at he had a series called the Bicycle Stunt Series, BS series, Bicycle Stunt Series,
Mhm.
in the early 90s. And I'm pretty sure that Matt doing this contest series was one of the main like sparks that ended up starting like the X Games. Like I'm pretty sure, I think it's safe to say that without Matt Hoffman, maybe there would still be an X Games, but I doubt it. And if there even if there still was, it wouldn't be the same. Like I think they got a lot of inspiration from Matt doing his contest
I
series.
didn't know that. That's fire. I like that.
I think so. I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe someone else is going to say you're way off base, but
No.
that's what I think.
In
I
my
mean, he was
opinion, Stu
doing.
Johnson is always right. So
But anyways, yeah. So Matt Hoffman, he's the man. He's done a
cool.
lot for
But
BMX.
you didn't tell me how you met him.
Um,
You met him in
I met
Chicago
him. He was doing this
at the
contest
BS thing.
series, and he had the finals were in Chicago Scrap Skate Park in 93, 92 or 93. 92. He did it a couple of years. I think 92 was the first year. So I probably met him there. I knew he was a big Evel Knievel fan, and somehow my local bike shop had this somehow left over from like the late 70s or something. They had this Evel Knievel seat
Hmm.
just like in the back of the shop that was collecting dust. And I
Nice.
knew Matt was a big Evel Knievel fan because I read it in a magazine,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Matt was like killing himself doing all these
Right.
stunts. Like
Yeah.
that's what Evel was doing. So I bought this seat for $10. And then when I took it there and I showed it to him and I was like, check this out. And he was like, oh my God, what do you want for that? And I think he just traded me like a Hoffman bike sweatshirt or something. But I was like stoked
Nice.
to be able to give him that little Evil Knievel trinket thing.
That's sick.
So that's where I met him. I'm sure, I don't know if he would remember that. It was such a quick passing thing.
Right.
But other than that, I can't remember exactly, probably would have been like going to like contests and running into him here or there, or like, I don't know, maybe him coming down to Austin. I don't know. Or it could have just been the props thing. Like I did some work for Matt. I helped him film one of his videos, like a couple, like shortly after I started doing the props thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go up to Oklahoma for a little bit at a time. And I didn't know him that well, but we became good friends really quick. And yeah, he's a sweet dude.
People who don't like the younger generation who doesn't know Matt Hoffman's like story and everything that he's done should probably look into it. I need to like refresh my memory on Matt Hoffman's like life story and how much he's done. Is incredible.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. I mean, he's got the book. I can't remember exactly what it's called. The Ride of My Life. Is that? I can't remember.
That sounds right.
That could be it. And then he has that ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, The Birth of Big Air. Birth of Big Air.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, yeah, if it wasn't for Matt, there would have never been the big ramp.
Yep.
X Games would be a lot different without that stuff too.
Dude, okay. I love the Evil Knievel seat story. That's how you met him. Anyway, number two,
Chris Moeller.
no shit. Cool.
Chris the Mad Dog Moeller. Yeah. I'm gonna say right now, Chris is he's like my all-time favorite rider for sure.
Dope.
Yeah. Just like growing up, he was a test rider for BMX Action magazine. And that was like the magazine that I had like worshiped, when I was like 13, 14, 15, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And he was a test rider in there. And like, they just always had these wild photos. And you're like, there's no way he pulled that, like, but you never knew because it was in the magazine. It wasn't like, but he was, incredible dirt jumper. And he was just kind of a rabble rouser, he was a rebel. Like you'd always hear the stories of him in the magazines, like causing a ruckus at the races and,
nice.
sanctions and the organizers, they always hated him because they were kind of the riffraff and, always causing trouble, like
character.
And just like, and then him starting S&M, it's like,
yep.
At that time, so many of the brands were just like squeaky clean image. And like, S&M was like, the dudes were into punk rock and they were wild and they were sleeping on floors and like, they were going on trips with like $15 to their name. They weren't getting flown to the races by their sponsors and rental cars and hotels. Like they were doing it because they loved it. And they were doing it with like minimal resources,
I wish I could go back in time and like witness that,
Yeah, it was really cool. And Chris was just like, he, like I said, he was an amazing dirt jumper, but he was one of the first guys I ever saw probably do a handrail too on a bike,
Nice.
Like he was definitely like a street riding, kind of like a soul street rider, like pioneer, like lots of wall rides and just like jumping shit and,
Dope.
like bringing some style, like, because obviously the racer guys usually had more style than the freestyle guys.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just like,
they got that racer bike control, dude.
Yeah, he definitely had like some good style, but it wasn't like too polished. It was always wild, and he was always kind of like, you're on the edge of your seat, like watching stuff he was doing, because half the time he was just gonna eat shit, But
yeah,
the other half he was gonna pull something super awesome.
What video should I watch of Chris Moeller?
I mean, I don't even know that there was like a real video that like showcases what Chris did, No. I mean, he's got a little part in BMX Inferno, but at that point in time, S&M was really starting to grow, and he was probably having to spend a lot of time devoting it to like the brand and growing it,
Yeah.
And just running a business.
I can't even imagine trying to start a BMX company.
I mean, he started S&M when he was like 16, 17.
That's crazy.
And it's still going strong, Yeah, it's amazing. That's one of those things like, I mean, it's the same with Matt, like when I'm hanging out with them or doing a project for them or with them, I'm just like, at some point I just be like, holy shit, I can't believe like I used to just look at these guys in the magazines, and now I'm like in their house or like talking to them on the phone or something. It is weird, but it's like they're just like awesome people. They're everyday people, like
Yeah.
you always kind of put those people on a pedestal, but it's like, it's a good reality check when you meet them and they're like down to earth.
Yeah, that's your inner 16-year-old. I still have
Yeah.
those moments of like, holy shit, dude, I'm talking to Stu Johnson, or whatever the moment is. Because yeah, it's cool, and everybody is just a person, and you kind of learn that. I love that about BMX and how like I got to meet people that I like idolized, and then I got to like have that life lesson of like, oh yeah, everybody's just a person,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
treat
that's the
everybody with
coolest thing.
respect.
Yeah. It's the coolest thing about BMX. It's like, if you love basketball, you don't go down to your local court and see Michael Jordan or whoever,
You struggling to name a
whoever a
basketball player right
legend.
now is hilarious.
But like but you
Yeah.
go to whatever Linda Vista or whatever park on whatever day and you see Garrett Reynolds there riding, or Kevin
Yep.
Peraza or Gary Young or whoever, like these guys that are just like, they're iconic
Top of the
bike.
game. Right.
Yeah, they're at top of their game, but then they're just at the
Just a
park having
dude
a
at the
good
skate
time,
park.
just a
Right.
dude, enjoying themselves, maybe working on a trick like you are, and more often than not, you can just have a cool conversation with them, just
Yep.
chatting on the deck or whatever.
While you're freaking out inside. I remember my first one that I freaked out about was Casey Badger. I
Yeah.
went to Goodyear Skate Park, and I'm sitting on my bike and Casey Badger's right here. And then I'm just like, oh my God, that's Casey Badger. And he goes and airs the hip, and I'm just like, it's so sick. Anyway, number 3.
Number 3, Taj Mahalic.
Nice. Excellent choice.
Yeah. I mean, if people know, they know. Like,
Brett.
I mean, I'll say, Chris is like my favorite rider growing up, and it's still one of my favorite riders. But Taj is like everything I see, everything I've ever seen Taj do. I'm like, damn, that looks cool, and I bet that feels good doing it. Like
Yeah.
it's just, and he has like his own signature style that you can't even like. It's like super aggressive, but it doesn't look forced.
Right.
You would see Taj ride, and you're like, he's getting something. He's getting something out. Like he's getting something out of him that he needs to get out of him while riding.
Yeah.
He's like taking out any frustrations that he may have on the bike, and that poor bike is going to take a beating. The bike's going to take a beating. The ramp's going to take a beating. He's going to take a beating, but he's like the most soft-spoken, nice dude of all time. Like,
yeah, that's where he's getting it out.
yeah,
Just,
I was roommates with Taj for a couple of years, and I would struggle to find something bad to say about him. Like,
hell yeah.
he's super thoughtful. He's that guy that maybe you in passing, you said something, oh, wow, man, I've really been looking for one of these things, insert whatever it is. And 3 months later, he's like, hey, I found that thing you were looking for. I just found one and I got it for you, and you're like,
Nice.
you remembered that? Like,
Yeah.
that's like, yeah.
Consider it Taj.
Yeah. For sure. Consider it.
I like that.
And just like, yeah, I don't know. His style is like, it's unmatched.
What is for somebody who, a young kid, Taj, that they're like, yeah, I know Taj is great, but where would you point them to? What do you think is Taj's best?
Yeah, I would tell them to go watch his Etnies Forward section.
Yep.
I think that would be, I mean, that's like the pinnacle of it,
Yeah.
like, and I mean, and on that note, like, I don't know if you're going to ask, but probably one of my favorite clips that I've ever filmed ever. There's a clip of him in there where he does the curved wall ride, the table out into the street. It's like at the Austin, like, blind school curve wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to film that clip, and it's just like, he is just hauling bananas past the camera at like Mach 10 and just hits that curve wall ride, and he is just stuck to it and then just launches out of it. And like, I had never seen anyone, I may have seen someone play around with a curve wall ride a little bit before that, but I can't really remember seeing one. And to see I've never seen anyone pedal at something that fast. Like,
it's so crazy to think about just pedaling at
he's
a
like,
wall.
He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go really fast and run into this thing, and I'll just stick to it. I was just like, show me, like, and it kind of blew me away. Like, he did it a few times, and then like we watched the footage, and I was so happy with it. It's just such a cool clip.
It's so cool.
I don't think I filmed it any way that is like awesome, but I think I think I got lucky and I kind of like captured what it was, but it's just like such a amazing, like with Taj, the trick is itself is going to be cool, but the coolest part about it is him cranking it at whatever he's cranking at, because
Yeah.
he's just cranking at something with authority, and you're like, oh man, it's going to go down right now. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
never gotten to do a curved wall ride. Have you done a curved wall ride?
a little bit here and there, but I've never been like fully committed and just
Dude, it
like,
looks like it feels so fun, but like
yeah.
I'm too shook.
And I think it is one of those things. It's like the faster you go, the easier it is.
Right. Yeah. But it's
And like the
scary,
more
dude.
timid you are, the more you're gonna
Yeah.
get wrecked trying it. So
I'll
it's
just
like,
slowly hop into it. No.
it's one of those things. You just got to trust yourself, but I'm not that trusting.
Me neither. All right. So we got through your easy three. Who's number 4? This is this is fun.
This is the tough part because I knew those 3 like without a doubt, but there's like 4 could be so many people.
Anybody. Yeah.
You gonna
Unrelated, not Mount Rushmore. Who do you think is the GOAT of BMX?
the GOAT of BMX.
That's another weird question.
It is so tough because there's obviously different facets of BMX,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where like my number 4 pick, that's where I have the problem, because it's like you have, like, let's say you have someone like Van Homan,
Right.
who is arguably, if you're going by impact, like, I don't know if there's another street rider who's had an impact like Van Homan has had, like when
He inspired a generation.
Exactly.
Maybe
I mean,
2.
he not only inspired guys to like do gnarly stuff riding street, but he inspired a lot of people to go out and specifically film for video parts. Like in Anthem 1, there were some video parts in there. It was video parts, but it was like we were just kind of filming the riding guys were doing, and no one was like, oh, I got to be laser focused on this video part. It was just like, yeah, there were some gnarly moves, a few gnarly moves, but it was a lot of like casual, just fun everyday riding.
Yeah.
But when Van came along and Seek and Destroy came out, and then a couple of years later, Criminal Mischief came out, then people were like, oh man, I see what I got to do now. Like if I'm going to be a professional rider and I'm going to put out video parts, I got to step up my game. I got to take this seriously, and like actually like, be very deliberate with what I'm doing. I want this for my part. I want this style trick. I'm going to go out and get this. And
this spot with this song.
Exactly. So he just like, he stepped up the progression like years, with those 2 video parts.
Yep.
So it's like, that's commendable, and like, even like when we did Holy Fit in what did it come out in 2014? I think
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was like, he still had a few years left on his career, but he knew, he's like, this is the last video that I'm like going all in on, the last part. So it was at the tail end of his like professional video part filming aspect of his career, and he got a Nor Cup for it, in 2014. I don't remember what year. I mean, so if I don't remember what other years he got Nor Cups, but I think there was easily a 10-year span between him getting his first Nor Cup and his last Nor Cup.
Yeah.
So it's like for someone, a pro rider, to have that kind of longevity, and especially in the realm of street riding,
For real.
it's pretty amazing. That's something to be, given all the accolades you can throw at it, because it's gnarly.
So you're saying Van is number 4, huh?
Well, Van's up there. It's like,
okay.
It's like you would really put him in the same category as someone like Brian Foster, who was a professional racer, top professional racer, won the X Games in dirt jumping, one of the best trail riders of all times, like had put out street riding video parts, and also had a career that spanned, I mean,
long career.
His career spanned over 20 years.
And he's a doctor now.
I mean, that was his career. Probably, it was probably close to 25 years, really.
It's incredible.
And he's a doctor now, so guys like that, Joe Rich, guys that have just contributed so much to BMX. You could take your pick. There's a million of them. So
So
I
what are
guess
we gonna do here, Stu? It's
I'm trying
unresolved.
to weasel my way out. Ruben, Ruben,
That's a good choice.
same thing. Same thing with Ruben.
Oh,
He, he,
Ruben's a
he changed the
legend.
game. What about all those gap to wall rides and
Yep.
like, and just kind of reinvented his style a few times, and like it was badass every time he did it. When he
Yep.
came over here, he was like on a front and back brakes, gyro, four pegs, like riding for Huffy at the time. So then before long, it's like, two of the pegs fell off, like the front brakes fell off, and then he was like a style god, and you know, then all the gap to wall rides and and
Yep.
everyone else started doing that, like he was a guy that he definitely set like a lot of trends that people tried to follow after he would do this stuff.
I once paid $100 to have pedals with his name on it. So
Yeah.
he's incredible. I remember the bike shop laughing
Yeah.
at me, like, "You're really gonna buy these pedals? They're $100." I was like,
I had a pair too, but luckily I
yeah.
got hooked up.
$100 was a lot to me back then too. It's like
Dude,
I was
it is, it is
17. Yeah.
a lot.
Well, your Mount Rushmore is just eight heads. So
Yeah, I mean,
covered it.
it
How about
really is
this?
possible.
How about this? Pick your fourth has to be a current rider that is under 35.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's a good question. Can I pick someone who's like right now they're like really starting to come into their own, and I
Yes.
see them in the future?
Yeah.
REA Levinson, that kid.
Who?
REA Ripe Life from Portland,
Right
who writes
Life.
for SNEM.
Yeah. I think I follow Right Life.
RYPE, or no,
Yeah.
RIPER or LYFE, Ripe_Life.
Right. Yeah. REA.
REA. Yep. 16
Okay.
year old 16-year-old kid, lives in Portland, Oregon, writes for S&M.
Hell yeah. All right. Shout out REA. He's on the Mount Rushmore
He,
with the
he,
big
he's
dogs,
he's
dude.
that I hope that
Let's
isn't too
go,
much to live
REA.
up to. REA. He's the future contender for Mount Rushmore, because he's just like, first of all, he's 16, and I just spent like 2 weeks on the road with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Like, not a single complaint. And he looks at his phone a lot. You could probably look at his phone a little bit less, but he's 16, so I'll let him have that. But he's like, he's got a super right on attitude. He's like very laid back, very cool, like doesn't stress out about anything, just wants to ride, have fun. He's not like concerned with like, coming up and getting popular and picking up sponsors, and all that stuff's happening on its own. But
Yeah.
he's very like level-headed, and he's got a lot of good mentors. I think like Shad Johnson at Goods is like
Hell yeah.
someone kind of taken REA under his wing. But he's
Nice.
16 and he has like a really good grasp on like BMX history because he's around Shad. So he's
Yes.
constantly looking at old magazines, hearing stories, watching old videos, and you can really see him soaking up a lot of that influence, along with still doing like modern day tech writing,
Yeah.
So, he'll do whatever your tech ledge combo is, and then he'll
But
hit
then
a
he can
big
hit a set of
jump.
trails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he'll shred a set of trails, and he'll do a bar spin to like back seat grab toboggan, like super stylish, and like, he can kind of do it all. So it's like I see a lot of good stuff in his future. He's definitely not like, he doesn't have like a narrow scope, and he wants to ride everything he can.
I love that. All right, REA. That's a fun fourth one.
REA, do it. All right, don't let me down, REA.
No pressure, dude. Do good.
Don't turn into a knucklehead. You got this, man. You're good.
Okay. That's that. Let's see, what else is there? What other questions do I ask, Stu?
I don't know. What questions do you ask?
Anything I feel like. We did good. I think
Yeah, how long?
I think it's been 2.5 hours.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's crazy. It doesn't feel that long, but
I know. It's because you've done
probably
so
longer.
fucking much.
That's longer than anyone needs to hear me speak, for sure.
No, you're full of interesting stuff. Any last words, I guess? I did that with Chandler in that episode, and he took it away, and it was so fun. I was just like, man, you do you.
Dude, that was a really good episode. Like,
Yeah.
I was familiar with that name, but I wasn't really familiar with him,
Yeah.
And that was a really like positive, uplifting story to hear
Hell
someone
yeah.
out of like such a bunch of bad shit.
Bad
and
shit,
like,
dude.
just have like a focus and like something that they're working towards, and like,
Yeah.
trying to
And
get
he's
there,
just like just like to see somebody so unapologetically themselves is so sick.
yes,
Like
yeah,
just
yeah,
yeah. Like when I said any last words made me think of him because he like legit turned to the camera and just like promised everybody he's doing good and shit. And I was just like, I like this. Dude. You can see me looking at him smiling. Like it's good.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any kind of like words of wisdom or anything, but just,
oh yeah, that's the question. Any advice to the young bucks out there?
oh, the
Any
young
advice
bucks,
to young
yeah.
hungry kids?
Well, the
What do you
young
say
bucks, I
to
don't know,
what like
just,
with Arye? What do you say to him? Keep your chin
I
up.
mean, I don't have to say anything to him. He knows what he's doing, but
Yeah.
like, just it's kind of the stuff that you'd like to think you don't need to, it doesn't need to be said, but just do it because you love it. Don't do it because you're going to get something out of it, like a sponsorship or, some money or whatever. I mean, those things are great if they happen naturally. But, I think when people force stuff, it never turns out, the results are never what you want. If you're
Right.
forcing something, forcing a relationship or forcing, I don't know, just trying to make it, it's, if that's your motivation, then you're probably not going to be in it very long.
Yeah.
You're gonna get frustrated. You need to do the BMX stuff like because you love it. If it's riding or filming or whatever it is, you need to be into BMX. You need to like
Just
it.
enjoy
You need to
it.
love it. Yeah, you need to enjoy it. You need to. It's like obviously I'm not gonna make videos full time every day all day if I'm not able to pay my bills because you got to do something to pay your bills. But I would like to think that it's something I would still be doing occasionally for fun. If I couldn't make a
Yeah.
living at it. Like, but I would definitely still be out. I would be out riding. Probably be out riding more if I didn't have to do BMX stuff for work,
Hell yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta love it. That's it, really. Just
That's beautifully said. I
yeah,
would say like don't I learned I kind of treated getting sponsored as like a finish line, and that would be my advice is like don't you treat sponsored as
yeah,
like the starting line and go.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I learned a lot of lessons through my little BMX life. What
yeah.
I'm curious about with you is what's your favorite place you've ever been? You've been to a lot of places.
Oh wow.
You're a worldly man.
Man, what's that?
You're a worldly man. I think that's a
I've
word. Worldly.
been a few places. I would have to say, I mean, there are a lot of places I enjoy going, and it really is just it's more so the people you're with, or who you're visiting or whatever. But I went to Japan a few times, and that was
I
like you're
would
on
love
another
to go there, dude.
planet.
Yeah, that sounds
It's like
dope.
it really is like you're on another planet in a
Yeah.
in an awesome way. It's like you're just like, oh man, you don't even know what you're looking at half the time.
Yeah. All the symbols. I like that.
Yeah, Japan is really eye-opening. And people are just like super sweet. The culture is like, yeah, I went there, I think the first time was probably 2001 for a props passport DVD I was working on.
Hmm.
And then I went again probably around 2005 or so, 2006, I can't remember, for like a Red Bull Circle of Balance, like a flatland contest. And
Yeah.
that time I went and I just stayed in Tokyo for a week I stayed with my buddy Shuji who lived there, but it was just me exploring the city on bike all day for like 6 days.
Fuck yeah.
And
That
it
sounds
was
so good.
really amazing. Like the fact that I didn't have a bike lock with me and I could set my bike down somewhere, go in a museum, come out 3 hours later and my bike is still sitting there.
What?
Like, oh yeah, it's just that's the culture is like people are, I don't know, respectful. Yeah, I guess that's the word.
Good people. Yeah,
Respectful.
that's great.
Yeah, so stuff like that was really cool, and all the people were just I met, through the BMX trips were just super nice. Like
I love
couldn't be
that.
more accommodating and happy to see, happy to see you.
Yeah. Dude, somebody just asked me today, like, if you like, so my boss is going on vacation in July, and his wife was like, so where are you gonna go? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know where I want to go. Japan. I want to go to Japan,
Go
dude.
to Tokyo for sure,
Yeah.
man.
How much is a
I don't,
ticket to Tokyo?
I'm not sure exactly. It's got to be under 2 grand, right? It's worth it. It is worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could hit up like Van Homan or somebody, and he would like put you in contact with a few local riders, and they
Huh.
would show you some spots. I'm sure.
That'd be sick.
I'm
The
sure,
Japanese scene is dope, dude. There's
dude.
like the
Yeah.
street that they do with the little
Yep.
peg chinks and all the stuff it's so sick. I love it.
It's really sick, and like, yeah, it's so sick, and the spots are pretty amazing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
Like,
going to
all the
Japan, dude.
playgrounds with the transitions and stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah. All right, Stu, I've run out of juice.
I, I'm getting tired too. Old man over here.
Let's go to bed. It's 10 o'clock for you, huh?
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
That is
Thanks
my
for
bedtime, actually.
Thank you very much for coming on, man. You said back a while back, like I want to do it in person, which I would have loved, but I'm glad you reached out and let's do it virtual. That's so sick.
Yeah, I felt bad because I was like, man, it's been so long since I've been back by you, like coming
Yeah,
through the area. And I was like, oh man, I don't know when I'm gonna have a chance to do this.
yeah.
I was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it over.
How did you know what? How did we first meet? What do you remember that? Probably you don't.
Um, my first, we could have met prior. Like maybe I came through Phoenix a couple times filming for like stuff like for Anthem 2 and maybe like Dave Thompson props bio or something.
Yeah,
We
I
could have
remember
met
you knew
there.
Drew. I
I
think
was
I
gonna
met you
say
through
I
Drew.
remember meeting up with Drew to film something, maybe for the ESPN website or something, a bike check. And I
Yeah,
think you were hanging out with him
yeah.
when
I lived
we
with Drew
met up.
for a bit, and I sweated Stu. I was like, oh my god, that's Stu Johnson. Because I just same thing. I sweated Drew Hasselton. I met him on my 16th birthday, and I was just like, oh my god, that's Drew.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love all that.
I'm
I
like
love all
100.
that shit.
I'm like 99% sure that you were with Drew when we
Yeah,
met.
that's cool. Man, such good memories with Drew Hasselton. Shout out Drew Hasselton.
What a dude.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, yeah. Thank you.
All right. That's it. I'll see you next week, nerds. Hello, you've reached the end of the freaking show. Not redoing that. Goodbye. See you next week.